Thank you all for being here tonight. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, PL 1975, Chapter 231, the notice requirements have been satisfied. Meeting dates for the year are listed in the annual agenda. Copies are sent to the Record Suburbanite and Northern Valley Press and posted on the bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center. The notice of this special budget meeting, Resolution 23-99, has been sent to the Record Suburbanite and Northern Valley News, has been posted on the bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center and the Borough website. The first 15 minutes of this meeting have been allocated to public comment, and citizens are welcome to address the mayor and council on any governmental item of concern to them, whether or not it is scheduled on the agenda below. Please give your names and address when you're ready to speak, and large groups are urged to have someone represent them. Please be advised that this meeting is recorded and are subject to the Open Public Records Act. All right. Is there anyone online, Omar, that looks like is there anyone's online that would like to speak? Unmute yourself and give us your name. Doesn't sound like there's anyone online who wants to speak. How about in the conference chambers here? Paul, you looking to speak?
We're going to listen.
We're just going to listen. Okay. So, Omar, it doesn't look like there's anyone online or here that wants to speak. So we'll get right into...
Actually, before we go off, just one, I read a great article the other day on, unfortunately, as my kids are skiers, it's been a very mild winter and a lot less snow. And there was a great article about how all the different counties and boroughs in New Jersey have all this surplus of funds because we didn't pay for all the salt and the overtime, all those things. Do we have a rough sense of what that number is? And I assume that number just goes into the surplus for this coming year?
Susan.
No. That, first of all, we lapsed from surplus 2 years ago. So the 2021 budget will lapse into this year's surplus. Our surplus is on a trend downward, and we did...
Sorry, you're saying overall.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking specifically about the snow.
She's getting
So
okay.
We depleted our snow trust when COVID hit, and we're just putting the monies back in. We started to build it. I don't know the amount right now, but I know that we just recently from not Tropical Storm Ida, but the one before, what was that? I think that one.
So we use the snow trust for other services.
We used it for COVID.
Okay, for COVID.
And then now we're replenishing it. And I know for Ida, we just put in about 105,000, 109,000. And before that, we put some other money in. So it's probably over 200 and something thousand.
And I'm sorry, just to add one asterisk to that. That snow trust account it was not allowed to be used for anything else. That was a Governor Murphy executive order to allow flexibility to municipalities and government agencies to use that to address the pandemic at the time.
So again, to summarize though, we did have more surplus. I have to believe, I still didn't hear you say it, but I have to believe we had more, we did not spend all the snow money that we anticipated for this year. It will help to replenish an overall snow fund that we have that was depleted during COVID.
Yes, that's the trust for the snow only, and it can only be used for the snow, for related things like that, salt and things like that. And but the surplus, and Paul will reiterate on this, is depleting. We're not at the same level that we were at.
No, understood, yes.
Okay, it's got on a downward trend.
Yep. I would say, though, and this is for you and for Jimmy and others to think about, unfortunately, maybe Al Gore is right, and we do have this global warming thing, and every year, unfortunately, it gets milder and milder. So I don't know how much, if we put, I'm going to make up a number, $100 every year in, we know that maybe we shouldn't put $100 in next year because, unfortunately, we just haven't been using it. Again, this is, God willing, COVID was a very unique thing. That's the reason why I was so depleted. I'm just trying to think about how we plan for it. If we just keep doing the same thing over and over again, that I'm certain is not the right answer.
Well, certain monies have to go in, and with the FEMA reimbursement for the roads for Tropical Storm Ida, it's contingent upon whether, like, if it's related to salary and wages overtime, that will go into the storm trust. If it's related to the capital project, it'll be to reduce debt.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sorry. Are you done, Susan?
yes,
So I think part of the testimony, or not testimony, but when Mike was here and asked him specifically about what a great winter, we didn't use salt, he said that he hadn't really bought salt for this winter, that he had bought whatever he had. He knew that we were going to be taking that salt shed out, and he was hoping we would deplete it down to nothing. So,
But the money was still budgeted. That's even great. He's
no,
brilliant.
he didn't want. No, I don't know if it was actually budget because he knew he wasn't going to be buying salt.
But we budgeted for it.
I don't know.
uh-uh,
No, I'm not sure we.
no.
I'm not sure we did because he had made it clear in his budget he wanted to deplete it.
Again, you keep, okay, let's move on.
Anyway, but that
You keep
that's
going
for
to
the
a different
salt.
place on replenishment. My point is, we put X amount of money into the budget every year. I'm hearing 47 different ways. I know you keep saying no. We had it in the budget. We were smart enough he didn't buy the salt, which is great, but the cash is still there. I'm questioning from a budgeting perspective.
Yeah, I don't know if he did put it. We'd have to
Again,
go
it's
back
not for
and
him, it's
look.
for us.
Right, but I mean, I'd have to look and see if
Okay,
it was
we can take a look.
in the
Let's come
budget.
back to that. That's a good
It is.
question.
Every other municipality saved money.
Right.
Maybe unfortunately we're the ones that didn't, but
Right.
the article said it was very good for all the.
And
Find out
the
with money.
long-term trend is actually for us to get colder.
Oh,
Yeah.
All right.
As the Gulf current pushes further off the coast because of changes in climate, our temperature is actually expected in the next 40 years to drop and then go up.
And then go
But
All right.
But-
So,
that's other lifetimes.
okay, we have Paul Lurch, our auditor, is on the phone. Paul, how are you doing?
I'm great. Can
Can you hear me?
hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine. Why don't you go ahead and take it away? It's all yours.
Yeah.
Sure, absolutely. Well, thanks for having me. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start first by just talking a little bit about some of the highlights from 2022. So one of the positive items from 2022 is the assessed values, or really the increase from the past 3 years. Assessed values in the borough have been going up. In 21, we had a $21 million increase, which is really good. 22, we had just a slight 3 million, but I think that's when other towns were starting to go backwards a little bit. 23 now for the new year, we're at 20 million and a half. And so that provides us some flexibility, which is certainly positive. What's not so positive is the fact that the year-end surplus dropped $100,000 from the previous year of 5 million to, and I'm just going to round to $4.9 million. And that is off from the high water mark that we accomplished at 2018. So 2018, we had a high water mark of $5.3 million in surplus. We've been hovering around that 5 million, give or take, and now we have a slight drop. Over the past basically 11 years, we do utilize a percentage of that for revenues in our operating budget. And this particular budget itself is contemplating using the identical revenue that we had in the 22 budget for the 23 budget of $2.6 million. So what does it mean? It means that our utilization rate is going up. We were in the 40s more than 5 years ago. We climbed into the 50%, and now we're at a high of, I'm going to round it to 54% utilization. It just means that looking forward, when we go through this process, we all have to be aware of the fact that the surplus numbers are probably going to decrease, not increase over the next few years. And one indicator is that when we look at prior budgets and we say, okay, well, as everyone's aware of, the budget lasts for a 2-year cycle, and then it cancels and it gets brought back into surplus, the amount we don't use, and that's a big generator of surplus. So we only lapsed in 22 600,000 from the 21 budget. And then in 21, from the 20 budget, we lapsed 760,000. And then in 21, from the 19 budget, we lapsed close to $1 million. And we had some lower numbers in the years before. But the numbers are trending lower. And that just means it's indicative of that your budgets are getting tighter, right? As your budgets get tighter and tighter, the amount that's unused over a 2-year period becomes less and less, means we generate less money in surplus for the upcoming fiscal year. So that's something that we need to bear in mind. Tax collection rate is outstanding. It's been outstanding. I mean, Tenafly is just top notch when it comes to, are we collecting, a sizable percentage of the total taxes we bill? And we've always been hovering somewhere around 99%. So that's outstanding. You can't get any better than that. And the reason you really can is because not only do you have a small amount of people that are not paying timely, but also what's factored in there are tax appeals. So if we have a current appeal and we bill somebody and they're successful on the appeal, well, then we cancel those taxes. So it automatically factors into the calculation. So 99% is outstanding. So that's certainly good news. I had an opportunity to spend the past 2 days going through the budget in detail and spending some time with Susan today as well. And I think overall, the budget that we have here certainly is a very good budget. Total spending is up $1.2 million if I round it, 3%, a little over 3%, 3.7. But I think what's important is to look at the tax side of it, right? So on the tax side of it, it shows that we have, based upon the budget that's in front of you today, that we would be looking at a tax increase, raising taxes, I should say, of $587,000, or roughly 2.2% from the previous year. And then how does that factor in, which is really important? I think the most important thing, how does it factor into an average house? When you look at an average house that's assessed at $785,000, and you compare that to 22 versus 23, that increase is only 1.8%. It's less than $100. It's a $94 increase. So I think that given the economic situation that we're in and knowing where other municipalities are, that it's certainly a low increase, just for the reasons that I think everybody's fully aware of when you look at what's happening on the spending side. So on the spending side, the major increases again are going to be with the things that you would think of, and that's going to be it's going to be your pension bills. They're up almost 300,000. I'll just use round numbers. It's huge. I mean, that's 12%. And the biggest line item is going to be the insurance. So when you look at the insurance side, that's up a tremendous amount as well. The rest of the stuff is really not all that much of an increase, although you do have your normal increases. So the insurance is up somewhere around $700,000. And then you have everything else that's going up, all the other expenses, gasoline, workers' comp, all those other things, salaries and wages based on contractual agreements. So to hold this line at basically 2%, I think that's certainly a good outcome, one of the better outcomes that I would have expected. So what I did want to talk about also is, looking at some of the other things that are in the budget. So 22, we have no emergencies. In 21, we had the emergency. And that was the EIDR down payment portion of 167,000. So that's gone. That's positive. We're still paying off the COVID special emergency of $40,000. So that's in your budget as it was in the year before. Tax appeals. So tax appeals, We paid over $262,000 in successful appeals in 22. 21, we paid over $800,000 in appeals. Now, we're funding these appeals with reserves that are established, as well as money that's being put in the budget. But as you can see, when you look at the budget, we're putting in $200,000 annually. We're spending, like I said, 821, almost 322. So those reserve balances are starting to go down. Last year we were over 500. This year now we're at $464,000. Something to keep in mind as we move forward. And then looking at really on the revenue side, a couple of things. Obviously, you're aware that the interest rates now, I mean, we're spending and paying a lot on interest that we borrow. We're also collecting interest now on our investments. So on the flip side, we're able to increase the budgeted revenue there by 150. State aid is actually up $65,000. There was extra money that was given that we had a reserve on the balance sheet during 22. And that combination of the slight increase is up, 65 grand on state aid, which is something I haven't seen in a long time. Construction code started to slide back after COVID. So those fees went down about 100 grand. And one of the other items that I do want to talk about is something that I added into the budget today. And that's a revenue, and I have an offsetting appropriation. So basically what you're looking at, your documents that you have seen in the past, there really is no effect. But what I did is I looked at the debt service, and the debt service, total debt service dropped significantly from 22 to 23, $700,000. And I know that certainly that provided relief, budgetary relief for all these major increases. And we talked about health insurance it was up almost 700,000. So what happened is that debt service requirement dropped by $700,000. And I informed Susan that when I went through the annual financial statement, that the borough received substantial amounts in premiums when they sold bonds and notes. We had one bond sale in 22. We had a note sale in 2022 as well. And there were premiums that the purchaser paid in excess of the par amount. So those premiums go into a capital surplus number. And that capital surplus number we can use for purposes that we deem fit. And so what I did is I took $400,000 of that capital surplus number. I brought it into the revenue in the operating account. And I offset the majority of that with additional payment of debt. It's really called a deferred charge, but in essence, it's the equivalent of your debt service. So we had debt service drop off 700, but I actually then backfilled it with another $375,000. And the reason I did that is because I'm just looking at the long view on this. And so when I look at the long view on the debt, and that really pertains to that other schedule that I had handed out. And I think you guys should all have that there. And that's the graph that we did. And so the purpose of this graph, and that's what got me to this point, the purpose of the graph is to show you as a council over the past 12 years, 11 years, that when you look at each year independently, the blue graph says how much debt was authorized in capital expenses, your capital programs. The red is how much did we pay and what did we pay in principal. It's not interest, it's just principal. And so it's kind of like looking at it almost like a credit card in that sense. And you can see that over time, we've actually flipped from paying more on principal than we were accumulating in debt, accumulating more debt and paying less in principal. And it's typical for municipalities to authorize, and you've got so many improvements and everything that needs to be done in the borough. But the point is that when you look at the red column, the debt service that's budgeted is relatively flat. And if I look at the averages, so we're averaging roughly $2.5 million in authorizations over that time period. I'm sorry, payments of $2.5 million, but we're authorizing 3.3. So you can see, based on that we're spending or authorizing $700,000 to $800,000 more on an annual basis than we're actually paying in principal. And what I'm getting at is that at some point it's going to catch up to us. And the point where it's going to catch up to us is in 2028. And I know I'm way out there because we're doing 2023. But in 2028, we're going to have a drop off in debt service. So we're going to have one of the existing bond sales are going to drop off. So in 2027, we'll do a bond sale. But when I look at the total amount of debt that we're accumulating on an annual basis, and then I come up with a rough idea as to what that new debt service is going to be compared to what's dropping off, there's a substantial increase. So if I was to just guess, based upon where we are today, what's not bonded, what are we annually increasing, authorizing, I think your next bond sale is going to be approaching $20 million. That's if we did it all in 2027. And that means the debt service is going to be over $2 million, $2.2 million. And the drop off is only going to be 1.2. So you could see if we do nothing and we get to 2028, there's going to be a drop off of 1.2 million, but I'm going to have to increase debt service to 2.2. I'm going to have a massive increase in your budget of $1 million. So what I'm trying to do in 2023, because we had the previous year, you could see we were up there close to 2.9 million. And this year it dropped 700,000, but I cut it in half. So my goal over the next 3 or 4 years is to increase your debt service component and step it up. So when we get to that point in 2028, that you're not going to feel a massive effect in the increase. So it's just something to look out for going forward. I know we have to get past today, and I realize that with inflation, runaway train. So let's hope that in the future things calm down and these costs stabilize, where we can put more of our resources towards that debt service payment. But I wanted you to be aware of the fact of where the trend is and where we're looking at. Other than that, I think the rest of the appropriations are sufficient to handle the operations of the borough. So I don't know, Mayor, if anybody has any other specific questions.
You have Lauren first, please. Thank you, Paul, for that.
Paul, thank you so much for all that work. We're following along. This graph is actually really interesting because I see we took out so much debt in 2020 and 2021, but there are projects that the town would like to invest in that would take additional debt. How much debt can we handle, with bonding for larger projects, let's say like a rec center type thing?
Just before you answer that, though, just to make sure I understand the chart, this is what we authorize.
That's what we authorize.
That's not what we've actually bought and used. Like, this is, again, I thought the broader example of, we say we want to do a lot of things, we just end up not doing them for whatever reason.
Well, no, these are projects that have been authorized, and then we do spend this money, but the maturity schedule is the red. That's what we are set up to do.
No, I understand.
Okay.
But, and again, I know we authorize it.
Correct.
There's lots of projects we authorize to do. We haven't bought the basketball or whatever of $5.5 million.
But we're trying to.
We are absolutely trying to,
Okay.
and the intention was to do it.
Right.
But unfortunately, there's just so often we authorize.
But then we cancel projects,
That's
and
my
then
point.
we can pay down debt.
That's my
But
point.
this is where we are today.
This is the history lesson. This is what we've spent and what we've paid down, what we borrowed, what we spent, paid down.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like a credit card. It's the same. It's an identical example, right? I go and we authorize to spend it, but you're right, we didn't physically spend the money yet. But we intend to. And so I committed these funds, and what am I paying every month on those committed funds?
So Paul, can I ask the question a little bit different way?
Sure, Mayor.
Is there in 2021, we authorized whatever it was, $5 million, and we paid down $3 million or $2.5 million. Of the $5 million we authorized, how much did we actually spend of that?
It's still out there, so
So-
he wouldn't know, he wouldn't know.
Let me give you a specific one since Rec is here right now. We authorized over $100,000 for the Roosevelt skate park. Not only do we definitely not spend, I'm just, because they're right here, not only do we not spend it, we're actually talking about not even doing it. So that's my point on, yes, we did authorize it. Did we actually, and to your point, yes, we could authorize it. If we decide not to do it, that money goes back down, right? We could pay down the debt.
So when I talked to, and I'm sure Paul will agree, when we authorize these projects and authorize this debt in a capital project, our investors are looking at our ordinance and the sale of these bonds
Hoping that we do it,
and saying that what our intent is, we're supposed to be doing these projects.
Absolutely. I'm not saying not. We
Well,
should.
and we do them. They may not be done as quickly as possible. It's rare that we don't not do any. And
Agreed.
they're still out there. And then eventually, when we do them, we spend the money. And if we have money left, we cancel the project and we.
And again, to your point,
pay
we
down
took
debt.
out this money, right? In 2021, we took out this money. This
Mhm.
five, yes?
Oh, yeah, we did.
Because
that ordinance.
I say it all the time, how brilliant you are. You're even brillianter because all that money, how much did we pay for this money? Because it's debt, right? We're paying interest.
75%, was it,
Right.
0.75?
Well,
Stupid. It's like embarrassing.
Oh,
Well, we could borrow.
Versus if we really needed money today, when, to be fair, I was the guy that pushed for even more money, how are those rates today versus where you got
okay, they are higher now.
dramatically higher?
Okay, but we're still AAA and we're gonna still get good
No,
rates.
it's awesome, but that's
And
the
we're
point.
making money on our investments in the bank too, so everything is relative. right?
But
So-
right.
So, but the point, Paul and I talked about this at length today. The point that Paul's trying to make is, we're following a maturity schedule, okay, based on the past,
What we've committed, right?
and what the rates were and what our principal payments and our interest payments are. But eventually, with inflation and everything else, and the way that we did pull back. I mean, it's obvious, we're incurring less debt going forward. So I think what we need to do is what Paul is saying, we have to continue to build in paying debt and also try to come up with, hey, we're not gonna spend more than $3.5 million in capital over the next couple of years. And keep in mind, we already did at least, I think it's somewhere between $10 million and $12 million in road projects. Yeah, over the last so many years, like at least about 5 or 7 years, we've been doing a lot of road projects.
So then to go back to my question then.
Sure.
No, that's okay. I mean, we took on less debt in the last 2 years, but if I want to take on debt, if this council wants to take on debt, Susan's shaking her head, Paul, since you can't see that, they want to take on a large 100-year bond for some larger project, how do we do that, and is it possible? And what do you recommend?
Yeah, well, listen, I think statutorily is another question, right? So statutorily, you can borrow and you can go into debt, like $160 million, which is insane, right?
Well, obviously, I would not do that to the borough.
Yeah, I think that's, I mean,
Bet on black and we're good.
I think what you're asking is, do you have the capability or capacity to pick a project? And the short answer is yes. I mean, you have the debt capacity, but you have to understand that that's going to cost you in taxes, right? So if I'm gonna embark on a big project, and what I'm telling you is that if you don't, even without a big project, and you stay on a current plan of average increases, we're sooner or later going to have to get to a point where we're paying off more than we average borrow, right? Because obviously with this inverted graph, we keep borrowing more money, paying less. Sooner or later, the two have to meet. We've got to satisfy our debt. So I think that's goal number one. And then if you want to do a bigger project, we can do the calculation. It's just a matter of knowing that, okay, if we're going to do a $20 million project, everybody knows it's going to cost the average homeowner X on top of what you're currently paying. So I think that's what you have to kind of grapple with.
Useful life will be calculated.
Jeff, go ahead.
All right, so thank you, Paul, for the chart. It's very interesting to see the blue above the red consistently. So two things. One, what is your recommendation for that to reverse that so that they're more in line with each other? But secondly, also, what do you recommend? Like right now you said our annual surplus is going from 5 to 4.9, so that means it's a smaller percentage of our overall budget. What number would you say is ideal? Because I remember last year, I think you were saying 5 million was pretty close to where we could go to without problem, and now we're going below that. So those are the two questions I have right now.
Yeah, I think the surplus is, listen, it's a moving target. And I think the trend is telling us that because of the budgets that we're lapsing are on a downward trend, that surplus is probably going to start to decrease somewhat over time, or at least in the immediate future. I don't see drastic decreases. I think what you're dealing with is an abnormal year, right? So when you look at, because of inflation, and you look at health insurance going up 700,000, I mean, I could get you $1 million in increases just between health insurance, pensions, and a few other lines. And then you say, well, how do we deal with that? Well, you can raise taxes another $1 million if you choose to, but we all understand that that you're trying to do everything in your power to control that. So it just means that you're relying more on surplus. So it all becomes, what are you willing to absorb in a tax increase? And I think that's the give and take here, right? I mean, when you look at this and you say, okay, surplus, we're dropping a little bit, but we're still using the amount. Okay, well, the give and take then really is because I think from a spending appropriation side, I think you're fine. I would not be trying to reduce the spending side. I mean, I went through it with Susan, and I think it's adequate. You don't want to strip it further than where you are. You have to leave room for transfers during the year, but you're seeing the pressures of these expenses. And how do you deal with it? So you either have to come up and use one-time type revenues, or you have to raise taxes more than what you're comfortable with. So I think that's the give and take here.
All right, because I liked your credit card analogy, and what I see is that credit card is getting tapped out more and more, and I'm just trying to think of a way we can not keep tapping it out. And I guess even to Lauren's question, when you have a lot of credit card debt and you're looking at, okay, do I want to renovate the kitchen? Can I do it? And the answer is always yes, but you incur more debt. So I guess that you've laid out a depressing picture for me by 2028.
I hope not. I'm just trying to be realistic in a sense that.
Realistic, yeah. It is realistic.
Yeah, we know the graph's kind of going in the wrong direction. So, and the top line, you could borrow if that's what it takes to sustain a community at a level that you feel it should be sustained at from a capital improvement perspective. Okay, I'm all for that. I think that's a policy decision that you need to make as a group. But just understand that from a budgetary perspective, we need to increase the debt service component that we're paying on principal. And I'm not suggesting you do it all in 1 year. I'm suggesting we work towards this goal over the next several years, knowing that every single year we're going to have an increase in debt service as a base component of your budget moving forward.
Got it.
Assuming rates don't change, assuming our borrowing strength. I think, again, everyone has their opinion. I'm not as morose as the way it is. We have to see how we do. When you have lower rates in good years, that's when you want to borrow so you can pay off in later years. Again, I think we do a very good job as a council on managing the budget really well, right? We're at 1.8%.
1.8%.
For fun, 1.8%. What is inflation this year? What was inflation past?
Well, you're picking the 1.8%,
No,
but
that's what the numbers are. As of right now, our rate is going up 1.8%, if I'm reading it right.
Exactly.
Average
That's
house,
the tax
average
rate.
house.
but amount to be raised by taxation is going up 2.2%, the budget 3.7%. I mean, it's,
But the
taxes are going
tax
up.
rate is 1.8%.
tax rate is.
So just for fun, so
1.8.
everyone understands, just get a level set. What is inflation?
It's over 1.8%.
It's about 6%. What is
Yeah, it's
wage
almost four.
inflation?
Yep.
Yeah.
So it went from 1.86. What's wage inflation? 1.67. So just gives you rough numbers. Again, maybe we don't give ourselves credit. Yes, we do want to manage the budget. It's our town's money, right? We're all residents
It's
here.
our money.
1.8 is raising at 1/3 of what
Inflation.
everyone else is doing. Those damn Oreo people are raising rates, I promise you. Do you know what food at home is? 12%.
Yeah.
So we raised our rates 1.8, which I'm super proud of, and it's exactly the right answer. Keep in mind that every other budget in each other's pocket is up 12, 13, 15, used cars. So again, it's good. We just have to manage it. And again, this is a really tough time. 2028, if anyone could tell me, because you'd make a fortune, what rates are going to be, what the economy is going to be like, and that's what we have to manage.
No, I'm just saying that, yes, we're doing that, but we're also taking our surplus down to do it. We're doing it in a bunch of different ways, but
And
it's robbing Peter to pay Paul.
it is. And again,
And that's,
the other
that's
surplus.
concern, even if we don't look at.
Totally agree with you. The surplus.
Yeah.
Again, Paul's doing a very good job. Susan is doing an amazing job at managing us. 4.8, as Paul said, and Paul's doing his job well. He mentioned, of course, it's not near our high water mark at $5 million. 8 years ago, we were at $3 million surplus, $3 million balance, 3.4. So
Yeah,
the
but
number,
that-
I could tell you a story that
But
this
I mean,
number
that's a function of, as a percentage of our budget overall.
right.
I mean, you can't compare that without looking at what the budget
Percentage,
is.
we can look at that.
Yeah, because today we're 33 million, and only when we started, we were just below 30.
So we can look at that. So again, it's absolutely the right things to be looking at and thinking about. You want to balance, you and I balance the raising taxes with the fact that we can't let our town crumble. I know too many companies and towns that
Absolutely.
we could have zero 10 years from now.
And crumble.
They
And
crumble.
Well, we had a couple, in the past, we had a couple of years where tax increases, I think most of the members here now were not on the council. Some of them were, some were not. The tax increases were close to zero. And, there's a price to be paid for that.
Right, what happened to those roads in those years that,
Right, nothing happened to them.
right.
Right, and so we're paying the price now.
So can I ask a different question to Paul? Paul?
Yeah.
Is anybody else doing investments that we're not, I mean, I know Susan's fantastic, so if there's anything on Susan. Is anyone else doing any investments to offset some of this debt that maybe we should look into?
You're very limited on the debt and I'm sorry, in investments and what you can do. It has to be government guaranteed. So I think it's like I started out saying in the beginning, you're earning now on idle cash. But we're doing notes of $13 million. So now we're paying, a high interest rate on the notes, but we're earning it on the investment side. So, it is cyclical. And as I heard before, it's impossible to predict what tomorrow is going to bring. Hopefully it's a better situation. But I think to answer your question, I think there is really nothing else that can be done just because of the limitation with the government required backing.
Thanks, Paul.
All right, any other questions for Paul? Because we have to move on to recreation.
Thank you, sir.
Paul, thank you for all the
Thank
work
you.
all year.
All right, thank you,
Yeah.
Paul, very much. We appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me. And any questions, please don't hesitate.
Okay, take care. Have a good
Take care.
Paul.
Thank you.
I mean, I'm just gonna say, and we don't need Paul to have this, but we need to be petitioning New Jersey on his health benefits. This, Governor Murphy, he has to do it. This is untenable in this direction, and it's our pension and wages.
Phil, hold on.
But honestly, you should be hearing from the town. Even in a town like us with a good, healthy budget, these health costs are going to explode us. Right?
27%.
Jamie Kennedy, come on up to the table.
Oh, wreck. Just
We need to stop.
We need 2 more chairs.
No,
Up
I
to
can be
the table.
In light of that conversation, I think that, both Jamie and I have come down with a stomach bug, and we have to go home now.
Nice setup for you.
Yeah, but it's going around, you know that. It's going around the middle.
Enjoy this now.
All right. Jamie, how you doing?
There, hi, how are you?
Greeley, how are you doing?
At the head here.
Terrible. Thanks,
All right, Jamie, take it away, walk us through.
I'm sitting on some inserts. Oh, good, all right. Oh. Where are we at? Huge. I can't even keep everything in my clean binder. All right.
Thank you.
What do we have here?
No, it's not.
Okay, Jamie.
Okay. So, recreation's your favorite, I know. So we're growing as usual. This year, we are growing theater programs for sports and creative minds to the school. I spoke to Joe Carollo, and he is very impressed by all the kids that are running through our programs. Their numbers are inflated. These are good problems. And so I said to him, we're there. We did it for you. Here we are. So we'll just keep growing with you. So we did our job. I said, now the high school, you guys have to do your job. So that's basically, as far as our programs, we have a lot of creative kids coming out of our programs.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
You used the term, you said your numbers are inflated?
Yeah.
No,
Inflated
she means
is-
increasing.
Increasing.
Increased, right,
I said
inflated?
inflated, not inflated.
No, inflating is negative connotation, okay, increasing. Okay, go ahead, sorry about that, go ahead.
We're
We've
in
been
the
faking our
positive.
numbers.
We're in the positive, we're in the up and up.
Just wanted to,
So we're doing really well, and I just wanted to say that the staff is incredible, and we have been short 2 employees since last year, and they've been picking up the slack, they've been taking on extra job duties, including the teen center, into our department, and everyone's been extremely wonderful, and I can't say enough about them. So I'm asking for raises for everyone.
Do you want to
Not
start?
it.
Do you want to start with staffing? Should we
Sure.
look at the
As far as staff is concerned, what I am requesting, I passed it around. We have a vacancy, we're having a really difficult time.
is this the site supervisor?
Site supervisor. So I just did some comps around Bergen County. And I'm talking phase 2, so like a level 2 employee, not entry level, just a little bit beyond that. We need somebody that is able to ride groomers, has maybe an online certification, is a landscaper, has maybe a little bit of knowledge in pesticides, and things like that. So we're talking phase 2, a level 2 employee. I comped the areas for you. I'm still pending some more, but it seems to be a generalized amount. I feel like we're not getting the proper candidate, also because of the name of the title. So when we say supervisor, we think maybe finger pointing, or I'm not doing the actual work. We need somebody that's going to do the labor and the work. So we tried to come up with some maybe title changes for that, so we could have an ordinance. I'm speaking with Jimmy. We're trying so hard. We have a stack of resumes this big, but we're just not finding the proper candidate. So we threw in some possible names. Groundskeeper's a good one. Yeah.
Yes, Lauren.
So I have been talking about the site supervisor for at least a couple of years, Jamie knows, because I do a lot of spring sports, I do a lot of fall sports, I have my kids on the field, so there's a lot of our town with our inflated numbers, with our increased numbers. And this, again, is so resident-facing. These are our fields. It's funny, Jimmy and I at the league, sorry, I'm going to add you to this conversation, we're talking to somebody from Westwood, and she said for, you know, a town like Tenafly, you come to the field, our players get hurt on them, they're in poor shape, the bathrooms, you know, everything, it's not lined, it's not ready to play, it's incredible, and it's noticed by other towns when they come, but more importantly, it's noticed by our own residents and by the children. So this, to me, is such an important job. I actually think that this is the job for two people. We have so many different fields, parks, playgrounds, playgrounds that should be falling under this, that should be not under the DPW as their last resort, but under a specialized park and field or park and facility groundskeeper. I'd actually like to combine those two and possibly think of a full-time and a part-time here. And we need it. They cannot do 12 baseball fields and soccer fields and lacrosse fields and what else is going on right now? Soccer again. I mean, whatever else. Those are all going on with all different lines. Grass has to be kept short.
Yes, Dan.
Yeah.
So, DPW has a more competitive salary guide, obviously.
Say that again, we couldn't hear you, Dan.
DPW has a more competitive salary guide.
With their.
More competitive.
Yes.
Sure.
Obviously.
Mhm. This is the same as parks. One person.
Right.
They don't have staff, so that's the problem. Starting salary right now is 40. We're getting more supervisory people. They do have some landscaping experience, or they do have some certifications. They're coming here, seeing that salary. They're like, okay, not bad. There's no steps. So I think they're thinking it's more of a DPW type position, and it's not. So I think that's definitely turning them off. So I think if we have a more competitive salary through the door, that's definitely helpful. I'm not saying we're losing anyone, we can't keep anyone. It's just getting that right person.
How long is this going to open for?
October, on and off. You're right, probably for a year.
A little over.
Yeah.
So
And a short.
in my mind, if the DPW department had a parks division, would that help you?
Well, they do.
They do.
They have a
But it's-
parks,
But like
it's under DPW.
dedicated to what your needs are.
Right.
You
So
know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm trying to get at?
most recreation departments do have a parks or a DPW under the rec department.
The problem, Dan, that I see is that it becomes deprioritized when there's other things in town, like a storm or
That's what I
something
mean,
else.
like
And so the parks sort of
dedicated.
become the bastard
That the word
child
is
that's,
dedicated.
you know.
And I don't know how recruiting, I don't know if it's sexier to be part of DPW or be part of
They have
recreation.
salary
The job
guide,
title
they
is
have
that
staff.
with the guide.
They're not
Yeah,
in
they have the steps
contract.
in
Have
DPW.
guide, that is different.
Right.
Guys can't
Right.
grow in
Right.
it.
So it's more dollar-wise, it should help you.
Jimmy, go ahead.
Yeah, and if I may, kind of to the point everyone's kind of talking around is also that if it's a person in that bargaining unit, or that union,
This title is
they're-
on that guide.
they may not be in that guide, and then if we're saying, which is not a bad idea, that it's just someone who's a driver, laborer, or division of the parks, it becomes a little bit more difficult to have one specific person just do those tasks, because they're gonna be at the,
They get moved
at the-
around.
Yeah, they're gonna be treated similar as everyone else, and
So the problem here is the money and the steps, or the
And
money.
which department should go into? Should
And
go under
title.
Jamie, so that she could say, these are our fields, here's our field
Well, I
schedule,
mean,
here's
that's
our
an
maintenance.
easy, I'm not saying this is the solution, but if the council decides to make it a DPW person, then we hire a DPW person and they're permanently assigned to recreation.
Right.
Done. We have to increase the
One enough?
the head count at the DPW by one, if we chose to do that.
But I'm telling you, I don't think
Well,
one is enough to handle what
Right,
actually
so,
needs
but
to get done.
that's a secondary question, right? Just, it's the immediate one, then we can go to the secondary one. Or we change the title like Jamie is recommending, and the salary has to go up to be competitive.
See what that is?
I
Jeff,
don't,
Yeah, so
those are the choices.
I know we've had the discussion a number of times, and this confusion about, what DPW does, what your staff does, and I think we do need to find some solution to that, because otherwise, do they trim the trees? Do they cut the shrubs? Or if we're getting a supervisor for it, do they do it? And I know when I was involved in Little League, I mean, the big thing was that we basically said, we'll maintain a lot of our own stuff. We did the raking. I know that the clay was gotten through DPW, but, I mean, was it DPW or REC with the board, right? It was a co-purchase. And we raked the fields, we lined them.
Landscapers.
We hired landscapers, and I don't know why we would take that pressure off of at least the co-sponsored sports. I know that there are some that are not co-sponsored, but why would that stop? Why wouldn't we rely on the volunteers who are, you know, enjoying the fields day after day and take the pride in it and had for many years maintained it? Why would we stop that?
That is 100% valid. I line my son's Little League field myself.
Right.
I go down there and do it because nobody else does it. But I feel like a training, people get scared, or I don't know how to line a field. And we were thinking about that. Should we start training the parents? Here's the rake, here's the line. But it's about physically grooming the fields, which I have to say the DPW has been great helping us for the spring, for preseason cleanup. So, you know, Mike Cassie's been great. They've been kind of jumping on board. They're short-staffed as well.
So to the question of they'll be pulled in different directions, don't we have a DPW worker who maintains this building in that?
Maintenance staff,
Yeah.
who are
But-
not
That's a
technically,
different-
sorry, they're not technically in that bargaining, they're not in that union.
No, but are they part of DPW or are they part of admin here? Where's their head count?
The bargaining unit.
So-
But where's their head count?
Jeff Lawrence, yeah.
You want me to?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so the maintenance, employees are under the admin bargaining unit, the supervisors in the OPIU unit.
Right.
So there is a lot of, discussion that keeps going back and forth because some of these, employees feel that they're treated as DPW employees, but yet they're in another unit. That's one issue. Secondly, this position that Jamie needs filled, and I think the town definitely needs this position.
Yeah, I think.
It should be, called not a supervisor. It's very misleading. It should be a field maintenance laborer. That's what I think.
And
it
I
should be.
think we're all on board with it. I think it's just a question of
Where does it go?
Where does
where's
it
it go,
go?
what makes the most sense, so that
Lawrence.
And what is
that-
the pay?
DPW.
the pay, and so that DPW doesn't stop maintaining the fields altogether and doing that spring cleanup because they say, you hired someone, you got someone.
Right.
And I don't want to see that happen.
Which
I complain that they're getting treated.
is very true, and Lauren's gonna say, it's more work than one person, so we
Well-
need like a part-time, or it needs additional help.
Lauren, go ahead.
So, I hear you on the DPW, but I'm going to argue not to put it under the DPW, and here's why. One, as I've said before, the DPW worker will be pulled off. Two, we want consistency. We want someone who knows what is scheduled. Many games are scheduled on the weekend. That is an overtime rate or a weekend rate, or, you know, we have to come up with a secondary shift because the field needs to get lined early morning for weekend games. They need to get lined for the evening games for the adults. Those are all overtime and off hours for our DPW. I would like someone under Jamie's direction as our recreation director, because she knows what games are on what field and what schedule needs to go. She knows when sports overlap. She knows when lines need to change. I feel like her expertise should be utilized here, and that this person should answer to Jamie, or our rec department. I feel like this is consistently within our rec programs. I just feel like it would be a mistake to put it under DPW and lose this yet again to the array of things that they do over there. And I just don't, I'd rather pay the set salary here than be dealing with shift changes and overtime and evening hours.
How much do we pay the driver labor as a starting pay?
It's just about 40,
Yeah.
It starts at 40?
about 40,000 and change.
What is our last budget?
And what is it in the second year? 44,000? Okay, yes, Susan.
So, I think what you said is very valued, because Jamie knows when the fields have to be done. But you could set a schedule for this employee that is a different schedule, like we do with the recycling center.
So one guy or one or two guys?
So you could go, like, the recycling center has off 2 days during the week and goes through, I think, the weekend.
Do you want them in a bargaining unit on their own unit schedule?
This person, what happens is the employees talk, and I see that the DPW guys
That's a bet.
are doing the certain work, and they know what their increases are gonna be, because of the step guide. Then you put someone in there at 40, and they look for the next better
Well,
gig.
I'm saying have a more
I didn't see
competitive
that,
salary
so.
here.
Manu, go ahead.
I would say
Yeah,
have a more competitive salary.
I would
Have it up
say
to
that, you know, we have the employee, report to Jamie, instead of DPW. DPW will, you know, there will be times when, they'll, have conflicts or you know, the reporting line is not within the department that it affects the most. And I think the person who has the department has the best idea of how to use, that person. You know, so that's whether in DPW or rec.
So,
In terms of salary and number of people, I have no problem with, you know, suggesting a part-time person in addition. But, I mean, in terms of the salary, I would just keep it at the 40. You know, change the name of the title so that it reflects, you know, more of what they're doing. And then you have a part-time, additional people.
Sorry, just to make sure, there is a part-time in the budget already.
Yeah, it's vacant, it's vacant.
Right, it is a recreation aid.
Well, we have to fill it.
Exactly.
But are you, Councilman, are you recommending a second part-time?
No, I'm saying somebody else who is also involved with this aspect. So whoever
Right,
that
so
is,
just hold to, so you're saying just hold to the budget?
hold to the budget, but you know, allocate this person to be that person for that function.
But they're already there.
Backup.
No, it's not. That's not how it's specifically.
Changing the title.
You know, we want to change the title.
Okay,
Right.
but that doesn't put more bodies.
No, it does.
Well,
It doesn't. They're both in rec.
Yeah.
it has been vacant, so we've been kind of doing the job
Right.
of that person, which,
Go ahead, Lauren.
So,
Yeah.
I have to disagree about keeping it at 40, because we are not getting the qualified person or any person that is suitable for the position at the rate we're giving. And if we're not gonna give them the step guide increases, but we are giving them, you know, contractual percentage increases as a salaried employee, the salary won't stay the same forever. I would recommend starting at something more competitive that the other towns do. So I'm not sure what range, Jamie, I defer to you, you spoke to people, you know what hours, and so what would you recommend?
so that is the salary when other towns have more than one person. So if we're talking about one person or one and a part-timer, I'm thinking something like 48,
For how many hours?
40.
Is that what these
Full-time?
salaries are?
Correct.
Okay.
So the full-time
Jamie?
employee,
Jamie,
Everybody's 35,
Jamie.
Julie.
Jamie, I'm here.
35.
Are all
They
of
get
these
one.
site supervisor positions? Is that the
Yes.
title?
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
So they
I made sure to just grab those.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So what, Jamie, what about, so the idea of changing the title makes a lot of sense to
Mhm.
fit the job, right?
I think we're getting the wrong people.
You're getting the wrong people.
Right.
And, I mean, if I was gonna recommend a salary increase, I'd go up to the starting wage of DPW worker, just for a benchmark of consistency of that, you know, the end of the first year is like $44,000. Right, you know, to title it
But
right.
the person shouldn't track to that.
No, he's just.
But it doesn't track to that.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what I'm
he's
thinking. It
using it as a
doesn't
benchmark.
track
Yeah.
the steps. I'm not suggesting that. It would
Yeah.
track based on
Contract-
all the other
The
tracking within the
contractual.
recreation department. 100% agree.
Yeah.
And that gives you the appropriate name, gives you about 10% more in the salary base, and see what happens.
And are we going to be talking about a part-time as well?
Well, that's
It's in our
secondary.
budget.
Again, we keep talking about it. It's there already.
It's in
Right,
there,
but-
right?
Yeah.
It's in
We
there.
could change the title
We
too.
change that.
Change
So
it.
advertise them
you
both together,
advertise.
maybe.
Jimmy's been doing it.
On a personal note, I like the title groundskeeper. It's kind of,
Groundskeeper.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, I
Yeah.
feel like
Yeah.
that was so outdated.
It worked for Hagrid, so I think we're good.
Is that
Work
out?
what?
For Hagrid.
Hagrid, yeah.
All right, one at a time. Jimmy, go ahead.
And for, and, you know, obviously, having going through this recently with Jamie, when I advertise, I usually put the title, what our actual title is for our ordinances, / field maintenance, just to have a general idea, even though in the description it clearly outlines what it is. But to Jamie's point, almost probably 89% of the people who apply have zero experience in that, with any type of labor.
In doing the actual
And they're
work.
more administrative.
And I think
work.
when we put
train them?
if we put an ad out there with 1,000 words and it says site supervisor, those are the only 2 words anybody sees.
Mhm.
No one's reading anything else.
There will be training and obviously certifications, but they have to have some basic knowledge
Of
what's going
landscaping,
on.
groundskeeping.
Yeah, we're not asking for a CDL or
And
basic.
I also agree with Lauren and Benu that the person should report to Jamie in recreation.
Okay. So can I then ask my second part, which is the park? So that's the fields, the parks. The parks currently are under DPW. When we talk about new recreation equipment in our parks, when we talk about an inclusive playground that Jamie and I have discussed with our rec board, there's a disconnect between who's in charge of that decision. It actually technically is under Mike Cassidy at the moment, who does not have the training, I would say, that our rec director has on developing playgrounds and dealing with them. I would say that this position is park and facility, not just our playgrounds. I'm talking about our playgrounds. What's your
That's
opinion on
under
that?
my Cassidy.
Right, right now it's under Mike Cassidy. Playgrounds
So
are
that's
technically
a
under.
bigger, that's a bigger question though, right?
Right, like, he doesn't,
He does the inspection.
Rob Roy does all the
I help
maintenance on
him.
them.
I have me and Mike, I have no problem helping. I even did the grant for Walnut.
Right.
We got that Walnut
Jamie did all
playground
that
up.
work.
I did it for fun. I like playgrounds, but it is under Mike Cassidy.
But Jamie has the expertise in it here, so it's a disconnect.
So, go ahead, Jeff.
So, is there anything that stops the 2 of you from making those decisions together? I
He
mean,
calls me because he knows I
Okay.
have certifications. in playground.
I know.
because if we move it, I mean, remember, DPW and Parks used to be 2 separate agencies in this town. And because it was so messed up of what constitutes park maintenance, because you do have playground equipment, you also have flowers. I personally, if it ain't terribly broke, don't fix it.
Right.
If
It's
you
not
can-
under Parks, and if Parks is under Mike, playgrounds is under Parks.
But if you can, you know, we can make it part of job descriptions, literally, that for playground design, our recreation and parks people have to work together. I mean, that's not a hard thing. That's more administrative than actually moving chess pieces around of who has what. I would think that he needs your input,
So
right?
when it comes to if he wants a piece, I mean, Jimmy knows, we work together, we collaborated 3 pieces to bring to the mayor and council. I go to the conferences, I see what I want.
Right.
I tell him, next playground, you know, get this in there. I just saw a piece I really want, and I showed it to him. And, so we're working on that, and I have no problem helping. When you're talking about building grants in huge playgrounds and all-inclusive playgrounds, that takes a lot of time and effort.
Well, so this is
He
the
doesn't
question.
have it.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, if a question about taking care of the parks, moving over to recreation, you know, that's gonna take moving a backhoe with a front loader, she's gonna need a dump truck, a pickup truck, and more staff to deal with it, right? So it's not as simple as,
I think they still install, but in terms of development and grant writing and things, don't you want Jamie's expertise?
it's not about her expertise, it's about now we've got 2 separate groups dealing with the facilities. And I think we need to have Mike Cassidy in the room if we're gonna have that conversation. I'm not saying it's a bad idea,
Okay.
I think we need the whole team together to talk it through.
I think to
though.
Councilman Grossman, there's a part of design
Right,
versus execution.
correct.
Design clearly sounds like that's something recreation should be driving, should be the
Right.
leader. And then execution, I don't know, I'm sure Jamie's great with the backhoe, but I'm sure that's not what she chooses to do.
We've got to consider all the different details.
Right.
So can I ask for that meeting then to take place sooner than later, please?
Yeah, absolutely, we can have
Because
that
I'm
meeting.
pretty sure I asked for it last year.
I'm gonna back up just for a second here, because we didn't really get consensus on, we were talking about this issue of the title change to groundskeeper and compensation of $44,000 tied to the recreation budget process, and the person reports to recreation.
My only thing on the 44,000, from the material that we see here, says that's still well below. To your,
If you do the average of all that, it actually comes to about 44,000.
No, you can't include Arlo's salary. I wouldn't include
54,
ours.
58, 50,
Yeah, I wouldn't
50,
include Tenafly. We're out of.
48,
It
46.
adds up to 438,000 divided by 9, it's 44,000.
Another point for
already
the group
No, it
to
doesn't.
consider is that of these numbers that are listed here, there's multiple groundskeepers or maintenance personnel to assist, so there's multiple salaries, whereas we're just hiring for one salary. So the challenge that we face is, at some level, continuity. The challenge is retention. And so we've had people come in that were interested in this position, and then they found a DPW that started at 50, or they started at higher.
Because there's
So
the
they're-
steps and everything, because there's no.
The challenge is us, if we're spending time and dedicating effort towards, spinning this person up, getting them certifications if need be, to fill that position properly, then they find another job where they can take that certification and get a better paying job at GW. That's something we'd like to avoid.
So what's your recommendation for a number then?
I think what Jamie had quoted before is I think, competitive and adequate, which would be around 48, so slightly above where you're at, but not tremendously so, but I think it brings you.
I agree with that.
Jimmy wanted to say something.
Yeah, Jimmy,
If
go
I
ahead.
may chime in, just to keep in mind, while no one's wrong with any of their points and their views on this, because I think one thing to consider is the DPW contract, while they're not the same, walking in the door there is 40,000 and some change, just shy of 41,000. At the end of your first year, or whatever, beginning of your second year, you're up at 44,000, then at your third year, 45,000. Then at your third year, you're at 50,000. So I don't, I just want to be mindful, while we're not, I know that this position is not following that same type of step guide, but I think
Right.
you have to be mindful of that.
But to everyone's point
48.
combined,
Let's do
you
2%
have to
raise.
have
What
trouble
is the
getting
salary
people
at
up
year
to-
three?
Right, the problem is everywhere.
You could come in at different steps.
Problem is everywhere.
Wait, hold on, I'm asking
Try
Susan,
and hire people at step 2, just get step 1. We want to do step 3.
It'd be up to almost 50,
Probably
49.
$40,000 a year is basically a
So-
job without overtime at Starbucks.
give or take a 2%, around 2% raise in the contractual
Can't
basis,
find
at
it.
year three, they're at 50.
Correct.
So they're actually
Yeah.
comparable, if you start at 48. If you start lower, then at year three, there's a discrepancy.
So $48,000 is what you think the number is?
Right.
Evens
Yeah.
out the DPW and this position at year three.
I agree.
They're both at 50.
Yeah, but the DPW will move past that very
Correct.
quickly,
Correct.
very quickly.
But they're in a
But
different.
there's also, there's not a
different role.
requirement in this case to get a CDL, which is a requirement for the
Correct.
DPW.
Right.
There's other, trainings and requirements for the DPW expertise, thank you. Whereas this, it's a different environment entirely, and I think, that along those lines.
All right, so Jeff, go ahead, then we're gonna.
Just so we know,
Thank you.
I mean, look, I'm for recommendations. I'm not sure if the numbers you have here, like if in Paramus, Bergenfield, we're talking site supervisor or groundskeeper. I'm not sure which numbers you've drawn. Are those,
I specifically stated what the job description was, and they gave me the closest to.
well, which job
They're
description when you,
more of maintenance for rec, so they're more of the parks department,
okay.
Yeah.
So,
not DPW.
so the other thing that we just need to keep in mind, and this is fine, but this is what we don't look at as a council, we don't look at the hidden numbers sometimes. If we are going 8,000 higher, the total for pension and FICA increases 3,000. So we're really not going up 8,000, we're going up 11,000 higher. We just have to be aware of that. We don't always count those numbers in it. And sometimes you ask this question of, okay, so if we're adding 11,000 here, where can you find efficiencies to remove 11,000 somewhere else?
Absolutely. And I would tell you, again, my feeling is that, look, this doesn't, this role should have been here. The feeling why I think we need the 48 is we've practiced this as a council last year at 40, and what happens is you can't get a single person.
I'm not saying not to, right?
Right, no.
I'm
No,
just
I'm
saying
saying
the
that-
number's not 8, it's 11, and if
But the
we
number's
were-
not 40, it's
Right.
41.
It's, well,
Whatever,
I'm
two.
saying,
With the FICA.
Wait,
I'm
can I
saying the
answer Jeff before
additional
you-
FICA.
Yes,
Jeff,
no, you're
who had
right.
the hand up
And,
first?
I
and,
just wanna-
no,
Lauren,
but,
then Vanu.
but if we take out of, like I heard you say, overtime, but
Overtime,
that's,
that's exactly what I'm gonna say.
but that's 6,500, so that's not even close to the 11,000,
We've been
right?
pulling people in for field maintenance, and it's inconsistent. So we're paying people, it's not consistent. We
I agree.
have.
Can we do something with you guys, you know this better. So we tell Jamie 48.
Mm-hmm.
However, I forgot how we did this before. Like you put a range.
A range.
We don't have to pick
Correct.
48. So
Correct.
can we say 46 to 50, get people in the door, and then figure out the answer is 46 too?
I don't know, can you go in a range that's above what you budget for?
You should do, if it's.
So do 46 to 48.
Range,
Yes.
you should put the range that's in.
44 to 8, 44 to 48.
Right,
You know.
you could do that.
I'd do
What
that.
is the range in
Salary
the
ordinance.
what is the range
Right.
in the salary ordinance?
38 to 40, I believe.
So we'd have to change the ordinance to
That
do
is-
that.
so
But we
make
could-
it 44.
What's the range? Wait, what's too many people talking? What-
34 to 40.
I don't have it.
34 to
I have
40,
it
oh,
as
that's
well.
right.
No one's
why-
taking the job for
No.
2 years
So-
now.
34,000, my kids won't take the job.
I don't want to pay the 48. I want to
Yes,
just get
no.
someone in the door.
Vanu, please.
So,
I'd be good with that.
I think, we haven't advertised,
Huh?
Jamie,
Done.
am I wrong? We haven't advertised this, as anything other than a site supervisor.
Correct.
So what I would say is advertise it at the 40, with, for the title that we're considering.
How long do we want to wait?
need to
It's
get
literally,
people
it's been a year
And if
empty.
it's a year, we can
But we
wait
have to-
another,
we have to
couple of
change the
months.
title. We have to change the title.
We
by ordinance.
advertised it for site supervisor for a year, okay? So stop being a child and interrupting me.
All right, let's not go down this road.
Right.
All right, Susan, please.
Thank you.
I personally
Okay.
don't like putting any salary into the advertising,
The
because
ordinance.
I like to get as many applicants as you can get. I just think that this, no, I do, because they should know, they could look at our salary ordinance, and they should know what the range could pay. And it works better than locking in.
So we need to.
You don't want to waste
ordinance out.
people coming in.
Well, no, I read them out real quick. You can
All
read them out.
Susan, our
But
ordinance-
don't call it a supervisor, because that's a
Don't call it a
mistake.
supervisor.
All right,
That's
Lauren,
a
go ahead,
mistake.
please.
Susan,
People are looking for
Well, we have
I'm
to
fine
change
with
the-
no
we have
range,
to
but
change
we
the
need
title
to
by
change
ordinance.
Change the
ordinance
title,
then,
sure.
because it's
Advertise it at
40
the same
obviously
amount,
what
and then
it's-
we'll
I
see
don't
where
like
it goes.
that.
And then the second thing, can I throw out a title? So I think, by the way, I got thrown by the word facility, which to me is internal buildings. So if we're gonna be talking about external work, then I would rather change that word to field, like park and
So I
field.
mean basketball.
Well, so or
tennis
field and
court.
facility, but I think it should be, to me, facility.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, why don't you just put something on the table and let
That's
us
what we're
vote on
gonna
it?
do
Sure,
now. As soon as Lauren, okay, all right, so the question,
That's for you
Not
guys.
like indoor.
the question
Can we
is,
not put down 48 as the number?
I'm gonna
The range.
suggest a range and see
Okay.
where we go, okay? All right, so Jamie has requested a change in the title to what it is now to groundskeeper, right? That's enough, that's the name you want? We gotta pick a name right now.
They're gonna work it out with Jamie.
Okay,
Yeah.
we're gonna change the title.
Get it done. Advertise soon.
Right.
You have
The-
to change the ordinance.
We're gonna, Susan, we know that, that's the end of the,
Well,
right?
no,
We
sometimes
just
those
talked
things
about
aren't
40 to
done.
48.
Yeah, no, we
Okay.
just talked about the ordinance.
Okay.
I won't let it go.
All
So,
right, thanks.
we're gonna start over again, so see if we can get through this. So, you're gonna change the title, the person's gonna report to Jamie in the Recreation Department, and have a salary range of 40 to 48,000, which is gonna result in a change to the ordinance. So the question is, Dan, is that a yes or a no for you?
Yes.
Lauren? Adam? Jeff? Manu? Julie? Okay, that's sold. Next topic.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And the aim is to fill those two positions.
Jimmy has been sending all the resumes to Mike and myself, and we're trying to share and figure something out together, because they're under kind of the same thing.
Before we get off the staffing page, can I ask my next question? How are we staffing on the teen center? Are we comfortable?
The staff's good.
I was gonna tell you, they're doing a great job.
They're still part-time.
Okay.
They
Both
are.
of them.
They're
Vanu,
very happy related.
Vanu's got a question. Julie, do you have a question
Yeah,
after Vanu?
I'll wait till the page that we get
It's up to you.
All-
Vanu's got the floor.
Also, before we get off of the staffing page, where does the increase to the director position, how did that
That
get
was when
determined?
I took over the team center. Myself and Carol got an increase for taking over the team center.
To the 80?
So I got the 10,000, and I believe Carol got 7,500, taking over the center.
Right, no, I'm talking about the from the 80 to the 86,700.
So we took over the team center in June, so I think that was only the,
Prorated.
yeah, it was a prorated amount.
Oh, okay.
So
So that's a team allocation.
right, right,
Okay.
for the half year, and then,
Carol.
and Carol as well. So you're looking at half.
So the 86,700 is what it would have been for the full year.
Right.
Give you meatballs
Yeah, right.
cutting out early.
So prorated.
Julie, you got a
It's
question?
prorated.
It's gonna be after salary if
Yeah.
everyone's
So
okay
this is
with
a full
that.
year.
Yeah.
You raised your hand, you can ask a question. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Whatever month you take it out.
So if you go past the staffing, and you go to page 7 of your, like at the top, it'll say printing and binding.
Right.
Okay. So just a super small question here, there's skate park maintenance for $1,000. So right now, we don't have a skate park. The skate park that was voted on to be built is not gonna be built by the end of 2023. So I was just wondering about that $1,000, you don't need it, right?
So it depends, if we put something there, I hope, we're gonna need some sort of maintenance, perhaps if it's fencing or any work that needs to be done to that area. I mean, we could call it something else, because it's not really a skate park anymore. No.
No, it's been all removed.
Just reminded me of that.
Don't pay for anything like that.
Because it's removing it. Walkers auction.
Yeah, no, it's a
Yeah.
lot.
Not lot.
No, because it's cleaned out, it's fine.
It's clean.
Yeah. Mhm.
No, then I would be more, comfortable with saying remove this, because whatever project is decided on for that area would be, incorporating the cost of the fencing that would be put around it or any, that would be a new cost. So like, why have this $1,000 here for skate park maintenance? Skate park doesn't exist anymore, it's a new project, that'll be part of that. Do you know what I'm saying?
It generates surplus for us, we don't use it, it's a little $1,000 there.
So, I mean, it's not necessary, it's not used there, so I'd just say remove it.
Okay. Council members, comments about that?
I
No,
agree.
leave it, we're leaving it.
I'm with Dan, leave it for surplus.
Where we're going around the
Oh,
table.
okay.
So go around the table. Dan,
Leave it.
Leave it.
Adam?
Leave it's $1,000.
Yeah, it's not, it's surplus.
All right.
I'd take
Thanks.
it out because,
We got a 4-2
I don't-
consensus, so,
Okay.
okay.
I want
All right.
to build surplus anyway.
Councilperson with the next question, Lauren.
I really
So
do.
I'm very excited to see, recreation
Yeah,
equipment for
if they
tables
don't spend
and
it.
chairs. Is that new purchase
Benches.
tables and chairs,
And
benches?
nobody,
There's
We
nothing to
want to
spend
put
on,
benches in the
that.
tennis court.
Okay.
Again, it's under TPW, but we buy nets. Again, we help each other. So I'd like to put benches in the tennis court area. It is not for picnic benches, so I believe, I want to say that DPW put that in their budget. I think, I'm pretty
So I
sure.
want to make sure we get those corners, we
Yeah.
don't know where to sit in
This
the
is
playground.
for other
I need to cut the cord.
places,
Yeah.
other facilities.
Great.
Quick note is, we purchased a recycled plastic bench over by the, we call it COVID Memorial every day down the park. So you're looking at benches, you should use the vendor. Jimmy's got the info. It was a,
Red Shaker's great.
and it's, right, it's all, you should go for the
They're really
recycled.
into that recycling, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. And the powder coated recycle, yeah.
Jimmy, did you have a question? You kind of had your hand up now. Who has questions for Jamie?
So I kept the budget the same, and that's including the teen center, so I kept it super modest for Susan this year. I did not add, although we could use it, we will make sure that we get everything done under this budget.
What would you exactly what would you want?
The team center?
That's
What's the one I want?
That's what I was just gonna talk about.
6 PlayStation 5.
We do need new things,
Yeah,
yeah,
I know.
We can have it.
absolutely.
Dan, that's my
should
question.
And we
I'm
need
going.
physical
Yeah, I know.
things.
So I-
Chairs, we
We
need,
need couches.
tools.
Right.
So the couches, we do have $10,000 from the capital.
I put that in the other, in 2
Right,
years
which
ago.
I'm gonna use.
Please do.
Yep.
I know those things look like dorms.
Right, so we're looking at, that's allocated for that, and I spoke with Susan, it's also allocated for furniture type things that it needs. But we've done some modifications already, and we're just gonna continue. We have to keep up. It is so busy in there, it is crammed in there, and it's great, and we need sporting supplies, we need more game, so PlayStation 5, things like that. No, yeah.
I was actually gonna ask about special events and movie nights and Friday night things
We do
for the
that,
teen center.
for sure.
They got great reviews. I was gonna ask you how the numbers were going, parent feedback.
So every event we've had has been sold out. We're doing a movie night soon.
Like
So,
movie pizza kind of thing?
yeah, so, and we've done that. We've done pop-up events, so it'd be, an ice cream event or, a snack event. So we've done some pop-up events where kids are like, come on over, just to have a little bit of fun and, more in the winter time.
Yeah.
But now everyone's on the field. They're grabbing those sporting supplies, they're going outside,
Girls have requested a hangout area, just like.
We're getting beanbag chairs, we're
Yeah.
getting all that stuff. at
When
all
do you
times.
turn the lights on at the basketball court?
When?
Yeah, at night.
They turn on automatically.
No, but is it April 1st or so that they go on till 10 p.m.?
They're on to 10 p.m. now.
They're on to 10 p.m. now. Good,
Time with the
perfect,
sun, isn't it?
perfect.
Yep.
Yes, Julie, go ahead. Then Lauren, please.
Okay, I was just gonna go to page 9, if that's okay.
I'm sorry.
I'm still over here. Okay, just a quick thing, I know, Councilman Michaels and I have been talking about, the line item for townwide events.
Mhm.
You wanna just start with a description of how you see that?
I could take that one since,
This is-
yeah.
this is-
So,
Okay.
as we've discussed, I've spoken with most of you, we do a great job at kids' events,
I know all of that,
which is run by Recreation. The hope and speaking with folks, we want to get more community engagement, almost for the adults. So if the kids get to party, so do the adults. So I've shared with Jimmy and Susan and others. There's a company, and I shared it with Councilwoman O'Connor. There's a company that will manage the whole thing end to end for us. It's $25,000. That's how we came up with the number. That is a completely outsourced approach. They put together 5 different events. Think Oktoberfest. Think a movie night. Think I shared with Dr. O'Connor a really cool Earth Day celebration. That's what gave us the idea. Lots of other towns around us do that. So think of it as community engagement, adult edition. Another approach that we can take on it, if we feel that we're willing, we being, I don't know, you and me, willing to do the work, I would imagine using the funds, and that's like 5 events, using the funds to do a dozen events, it would augment what's already there. So I know the Pride Committee wanted to put an event together, and we would augment it. Think of Oktoberfest. Again, the recreation team does a great job at doing kids events. We make an adult element to it for a couple $1,000s. So it's our choice how we want to manage it. If we want to accelerate a dozen events throughout the year, or again outsource completely these 5 events. That's the intention of the events. More cultural activities. One thing that I saw in another town up in Hudson is they help with walking tours. So we have this great booklet.
Yeah, sure.
Could you imagine, again, I'm just a realist, a third party coming to help and make it a
Suffragette march.
Right. And I don't know, there's a drink for each town that I don't know what. So that's the intention. More community building. I want to get the adults as engaged coming as great as we're doing for my kids.
A couple of things I wanted to say. I've spoken to Councilman Michaels. I think these are fantastic ideas, and I've spoken to Chamber of Commerce about, engaging our community more. We, of course, know that Councilman Grossman has a fantastic summer concert, and we're always trying to get the Chamber of Commerce also to augment those. Just a couple of things. I'm not sure that it would go into rec, would be one of my thoughts. Maybe it's more of a administration.
You could say with Jimmy, maybe. I mean, it doesn't.
So if I could,
Jimmy's running the social. See, Jimmy's not here, so he's planning to do it all himself.
But I just wanted to say I'm just a little hesitant to go first year in at 25. I thought maybe something like 10 to see what we can implement. That was just my thought, because I'm just a little bit concerned about going in with 25, just because it's been like a zero, we haven't done it, and I just want to know how.
So I think just to directly answer that question, again, it's our call, how realistic we are that we could actually do it.
Right.
$10,000, you couldn't get a third part, like, there has to be some sort of critical mass. So without a doubt, this council, I'm 1 but 6 votes. The 25 will guarantee that it happens. They're going to put together 5 events. You've seen the proposal. That's what we do there. At $10,000, just directly to your number, it would be us. So who's willing
to do 2 events
now?
Okay.
So who's willing to raise their hand to say, yes, I will put it all together and the money. So that's my only concern. Just like I've said, again, broader.
So it
anytime,
has to be a package of 5 or more.
Correct. You get bigger. But again, like I said, for all the things, I don't believe in putting money in for lights if it doesn't come with the installation, because I just know our town, and everyone's stretched. We cannot get DPW to do any more, rec to do any more, this to do any more. So that's my only concern with the smaller approach.
Susan, then Lauren.
okay, so I just put it under rec, and I think it was a surprise to you, right?
Like 25, that wasn't where that come from.
No, Jamie and I spoke.
No, that was before you
Oh,
spoke.
okay.
But it could go into other places. It could go under
What page is
cities
it on,
area.
Susan?
It's page
9.
9. Or it could go under celebration for public events, which is still under E6, because when you looked at it.
Or and it allows the council, the council can completely control the.
Well,
budget.
better that
The
it's
council
under
budget, you want under
somebody
budget?
in the borough.
Okay, that's fine.
Department, actually.
Lauren, and then
Oversight.
Vanu.
So 2 things. One, Jamie, if you don't mind, I think you did a beautiful job with our community events all year. I think your office does a great job overseeing, and with an outside company assisting you in the planning, it might be a nice thing for you and your department to be involved in, but I'll let you and Jimmy determine that, and yes. But the second thing is, I just wanted you guys to be realistic about how much these things cost. So the Pride Committee met this week. We are planning a Pride Fest in June. You're all cordially welcome. We need to raise $8,000. $8,000 gets us music, a tiny bit of closing the streets, the permitting, the insurance, although, it's our town property. But I'm just saying, the money does not go as far as you think it does, and I almost think you're not even going to get 5 events out of there. I think maybe 3.
Well, they guarantee it. So again, you outsource
fine.
it's guaranteed. They're on the
I'm
hook.
just saying, I don't think it's an unrealistic amount, given that the small Pride Fest that we're putting together is costing a couple, I don't know, I think we're up to $6,000 or $7,000 right now for food, music, closing the street, insurance, publicity, marketing, whatever it is, pride flags. And that's not a big event. That's a small event. And so, again, it's a wonderful job. I think we do need more community. I think mental health and coming out into the community is a great way to combat some of that stuff. So I'm all for it. Thank you for
So-
putting that together.
Jeff, go ahead. Then I'll
I
say
think
something.
Bennett was next.
Oh, I'm sorry, Vanu, I've lost.
Yeah, I actually might be willing to defer to Jeff if he's going to say what I hope he will, which is
So go ahead, Vanu.
which is I'd like to see not the 25, but probably about 10 also being put into Tenafly Presents. We already have a group, in town.
But we have
that
money in the budget for Tenafly Presents.
Right. So then maybe the idea is just to expand the remit of what you can do and expand it to something that's more inclusive of the adult population.
That's actually not what I was gonna say.
No,
That's
no,
okay.
that's-
I mean, we, look, on a $25,000 budget, roughly, we do about 14 concerts, give or take. Closer at 30,000. We get 14 concerts in with sound, just to give you an idea. What I was actually gonna say is, or ask is, for the 25,000, great, they put the events together, do they market?
Yes, they're incredible.
Is that all marketing?
They do everything.
Because one of the
It's
big
actually one of the things I asked.
Yeah, one of the big problems is getting people to come to this stuff.
Just so you know, the stuff I sent to you last night, they were marketing it on Facebook. That's how I found out about it. So yes, they do 100% of the marketing. And again, I could send you the proposal.
No, that's fine. I'd like to see it.
That's fine.
So in terms of, my feedback from residents in terms of what they do and what they talk about, what they call about, what they email about, in no particular order. Senior center, recreation, why don't we have enough fields? What's going on at the summer concerts, the community night, the street fairs that we argue about whether we should do it or not every year, right? Okay? The residents are very, very much focused on all this stuff that faces them, that they like to experience. They enjoy doing all these social things in the community. All the different things that go on in town, they all love it. There's never get negative comments about any of this. The car thing that the police do, I mean, everything is very uplifting for them with this. And from every corner of the town. Everybody loves, participating in these community events, so it's worth the council considering this.
Can I understand then after?
The more community events, the better.
If it gets budgeted though, step 2 is what exactly? Like what comes, like who becomes the point person? Like I'm a details oriented, this is what I was talking to.
So let me, before I answer that question or ask for answers for that question, one of the consistent themes that at least I hear from residents about, like taxes. Taxes are high in town. There's no question about it. But residents want quality and services for the taxes they pay, right? And so this is along the lines of what happens in recreation. Everybody loves the senior. We got 450 members of the senior center, right? This is another item that the amount of money that's getting spent is greatly leveraged in terms of what the return is for the taxpayers in town. In terms of your question about who's going to manage it, I mean, this is a function immediately of the administrator's responsibility as to whether it gets managed by, the recreation department. They have to figure that out. That's their job. I don't think it's something for a group of volunteers to do. It's hard to get volunteers to commit full-time to something. So maybe it's a committee of the council and the administration, 2 council members.
Or a committee like Tenafly presents.
Or a committee like Tenafly presents.
They work very well and.
But the administrator and Jamie have to be integral to that because there's execution that has to happen.
Throw it to Tenafly presents
I
already.
can't hear you, what?
So if you threw.
The only
That's
thing
fine. I can't
is,
hear you.
just be careful, I feel like I was part of it for some time, that was 4 months, make up the number. Why would that just kind of mean to
So what-
volunteer
what-
people to do 12 months?
Didn't I say
What does
light?
the table want to do? You've heard, it's already in the budget. Dan, do you want to keep it in the budget?
Yes.
What was that?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Adam?
Yes.
I'm for keeping it in the budget, but we need to really give it 3 years to see if it works. If we're putting in the budget, we need to commit not just 1 year and say it did or didn't work. You need to build up something. If after 3 years it works, great. If after 3 years it doesn't work, we need to have the backbone to revisit it.
And I'm happy to partner with you on this, absolutely.
Once it's there, it's there.
The new?
I was just going to say, once it's there, it's there. There's no revisiting after 3 years. But I would say, if you're going to do 3 years, do it in a step approach. Just no, I'm saying, I know, but if you start off at 10, bring it down to something that tests the waters, and then go from there.
Just
Julie? Wait, let's finish our consensus.
Oh, okay. So I think we're getting outvoted on the 10 thing. If it's a yes, no, I'll go with with yes.
Okay.
I wanted 10, but it doesn't seem like,
All right, so we've got a consensus in favor of keeping this in the budget. Jimmy, we've got to figure out a committee, which we can have that conversation on another night at the next council meeting, in terms of 2 council members on it,
No,
yourself
I'm
and
happy to
Jim.
do it, Jeff. And again, my sincere hope is if we're gonna go with this company and try it out, hopefully it's just you and me, like, it's us not doing any work at all.
Right, so,
No, I
In
like
the
the
interest of
idea.
time,
Yeah,
can we go
yeah.
to capital plan?
yeah, we're gonna go that tonight. So I can't technically, Adam, to your question, I can't appoint tonight, we have to do it immediately,
This is fine.
okay?
So,
All right, Jamie, thank you very much.
no, capital plan, Jamie.
capital.
Oh.
Oh, no,
We're-
we got big stuff to do.
We're behind schedule.
Yes.
So go ahead, go through your capital quickly.
So, we could start,
These are big conversations.
I asked for,
Oh, hold on, before it moves
Yeah.
on, but while Jimmy was out, there was an idea that it was gonna go into, borough admin, not stay in rec. We need to pull that question.
That's fine. I think it's fine.
Admin?
Yeah, it's fine.
I'm
gonna put it-
admin,
Okay, so,
admin.
so
I would
hold
put
on
it
a
the
second.
unclassified where the concert and the
start-
fireworks and everything.
That's fine, I don't care where, it doesn't
Let's
matter.
start from the beginning again. Dan,
Dan wants
Is
it to stay in rec.
Oh, no, unclassified for all the other stuff.
Oh,
so are you admin or rec?
Unclassified.
It's still
right?
under, it's still under admin,
Okay.
that's why.
I like the unclassified idea.
All right, so, okay, so,
Lauren?
it's admin.
Lauren?
Okay, moving past.
I'm sorry.
It's done, we did it, we agree.
Yeah, we agree.
I suggest that
We
you
have a
don't
lot to
ask
talk
me.
about in capital, so let's talk capital.
Talk about it.
I'd like to start with,
Okay, Kate, everybody, one at a time. Manu has the floor, and then Jamie, walk us through.
We're still, just on the operating, there's the final item was the 10,000 for
Jamie.
the swim club lease.
can we start with the multi-use?
Wait a minute, no, we've got a question. Go ahead.
Sorry, yes.
The swim club lease, which may be more, Susan's question, right, so maybe you can just
Okay,
address
so
that.
you said we're gonna use the swim club this year.
We will use it every year.
Okay, so with that being said, we have a lease agreement, and we have to make a payment to them based on what's in that lease. And, I think it's, 20,000, so I had to put, we don't have enough money in
so 10.
this, it's like a
We've been
capital
using
account.
admin fees.
Yeah, fees, from fees,
Right.
which the auditor said I could use. So this will be the first year that I really have to put something in the operating, and next year it could be more, so. Just so you know, there's like a map line. That's where that money came from.
So,
Any other questions about the operating budget?
Susan, you just put half of it, and then we'll just have to raise camp prices a little bit to
Well, no, I
offset.
have the money in another line item that was raised from admin fees.
We're still gonna do that, so is the admin fee exhausted?
Not yet,
Not yet, it's getting there, okay.
so maybe, I
We
don't
would
know
like to
what'll
try to
happen
offset
next
it.
year, but this year it's okay.
Our camp is very low, it's great. So we could try to help it a little.
Okay, so I don't need to help this year,
Yeah, no.
but next year.
Yeah,
Okay.
our camp's nearing full, so.
Good.
Okay, go ahead, Jamie, with the capital.
Okay, can we talk about the multi-use cage, because I do have rec board members here.
Okay, so
we
go in the
have,
order you want to go in.
Angela's here and Mike, and, this was in my budget. Susan moved it to Mike Cassidy's budget, just for the fact of construction-wise. But as far as design is concerned, happy to help. I know exactly what we need and why. If we get this cage where the old skate park is, everyone will be a hero. And I'm gonna say why. What you see here are the 2 cages that exist in New Jersey. One is in Roseland, New Jersey. That is the Michael Colletti cage, named after the recreation director. Just saying.
The Jamie
In case you want to, like, name it something. No, but that is a multi-use cage, which I definitely want it to look like that. On the other flip side, you'll see the rainy day pictures of Mr. Greeley that went out in the elements on the flip side. To take pictures of 2 of the facilities that are located in Hackensack. I could not find it.
So.
If you're going over to Restaurant Depot.
So let me, without overselling the close, your council graciously proposed for the next Bergen County grant to actually make the multi-use cage and the tiger cage together that is our priority, and that's what we're going to be proposing. Dan and I and the mayor had a meeting, and Jimmy had a meeting actually today
Right.
to write it all
I don't
up.
have to sell this to you.
So the great news is your
Okay.
council has heard you, and that's what we have prioritized as the
grant project.
The grant
It's
project.
the perfect space for it. It is fantastic for the entire community, not just children and youth. It is for everybody, and it could be used for so many different things. It's a perfect space for it with the fencing, and we spoke about maybe opening the fencing, but it is safe over there with the fence. But it's the perfect place for it, and we really want it to look like the Roseland one, because it is lined for everything and for everyone.
So I asked our engineer for a environmental study. How much more
Oh, I never had
is
any.
this that would match up to those bids? So what we can and cannot get away with.
Right.
I hate the fact that they're misaligned. It should be, I mean, even if the middle fence stays between the tennis court and the court.
They're very difficult to get to if you're not walking. So to get to the tennis court, there's nowhere to go. You have to walk through everything.
Correct.
Or walk across the street. So it's very difficult to get to. Just in general, they're in the middle. Yeah.
Gotcha. From
It
wherever
could
you're
probably
parking.
be aligned a little bit better.
Wait, what's your question, Dan?
Yeah,
I was having a problem.
show off.
Google
During
Earth.
the environmental study, or
Right.
whatever wetland study the engineer can provide, continuing the southern line border of the
Oh, make them
southern fence,
even. Yes, thank you,
if
Dan.
that can come down,
Yes.
I don't understand.
So
You're
it's all
talking
in a
about
straight
the
line. It
non-porous-
drives me crazy
instead of two
too.
rectangles, one giant.
Mhm.
And
Does
then,
that increase the non-port, the reason you asked for the study is to increase the.
Maximize efficiency of
Cool
the
phone.
field, like if
Yeah.
you're,
It's-
there's
it's
probably a
non-porous.
10-foot gap between them.
Done any
Why?
studies
of that area?
Why build two fences with four sides when you can build one fence?
You're talking about connecting those.
Basically, yes,
pieces.
and saving this way,
do this stuff.
what can we get away with? If we're gonna reduce.
Environmental.
Right.
Landscape, pond renovations, that's all part of that general.
Yes, Lawrence.
okay. I love the most
You
perfect
have a
case.
vision
Thank
for
you
the
for planning
Baker
it and researching,
Roosevelt Commons,
taking pictures.
Did we make it?
My
How
thing
fast
is,
is
this
the
is
rest?
something
Yeah.
you see from
Still
the
love
center of our town. Roosevelt, we want to beautify it, there's a beautification,
Something like that.
a landscaping initiative that we've also applied
do
with
whatever
the
we
grant. Not to be difficult, but I really actually like the, weird, really picky, the green pavement. I'm not sure, can we line this so that it looks more like a green instead of the black pavement feel?
It has an epoxy coat, which is
Okay.
normally
All right,
asphalt,
then
I'm voting for purple.
like a
Purple.
driveway.
I just wanted to ask.
It would
because
probably cost more if you wanted to epoxy it, those colors. That's like our tennis court.
Got it, okay.
I care about.
And there
It
is,
was just an ask,
There is
because I did think it was a nice look and
yeah,
feel to
there
it.
is more room though for cracks when you do something like
Like a
that.
tennis court.
Heavier use
Mm-hmm.
would be the asphalt with the epoxy coating, the clear coating, but
And you know my shtick about
Nine.
the industrial fencing
Yes.
look, know what I look and feel,
it's there already.
it's like,
So we're getting way behind schedule.
Since just, how do you
All right.
blend it
Yeah,
into the
please.
environment? Green,
You have to read the fence.
We're discussing colors.
Yes, so Jeff, go ahead.
and it's on the lake completely.
After COVID.
All right, Jeff has a question. Jamie, then let's continue on with your capital.
It doesn't matter around here.
Jamie,
All right,
Jamie, Jeff
quick.
has got the floor. He's
Two
got a
things.
question.
Sure.
One is actually, I'm going to pass this around, just as we have these discussions, this is the original design by Quatley, who was the one, really the first noted female landscape architect in our country. This is her design from 1920s, of which she envisioned. It's kind of cool to keep that in the back of our minds as we go forward.
Did she have internet access?
She did not. 1920s. So here's my question, though, Jamie. When I look at what you have for Roseland, I see this one area that's kind of basketball court size. I see another with a rounded fence. Is this multiple areas then, and is that what you're suggesting? Because this looks like three very different huge areas.
So
What-
that's
what
the
exactly?
progression. So you could see that they asphalted it first.
Yeah, but this one's curb fence. This is not a curb fence.
It is. It's just the angle. It's the same facility.
It's the same
Yeah.
facility.
They actually built that from scratch from an old playground. So it's part of a large renovation of a playground, and they actually built that multi-use cage. It wasn't like a skate rink, or it wasn't something prior.
So do you see this fitting within the area, the same
That is there.
footprint that's there, even if we move it to align it with the same basic footprint?
Yes.
Not any bigger or small.
Well,
right?
that's the question.
Yeah.
This
So
looks,
what's good about it is they built
this
that from
looks
scratch.
bigger.
We don't have to do that.
right.
We could dig a little, put 2 inches of asphalt, and we can have something like this for our community.
And I do agree about the industrial fence is not the most attractive, but
It's a matching fit.
It's there.
I believe it's matching.
Saves a little bit of money, but,
Okay.
well, I don't know. Can we get stuff like this done with the fence in situ, or do we have to take it down and reinstall?
you can leave the fence up. They will get the machines in there to asphalt. But it depends if, do you want to take the fence down? Do you want to recover?
Well, I'm just
the fence?
trying to think of that entrance, how they get the
They'll probably
machinery in
remove
there.
part of the fence.
Yeah, they'd have to remove part.
Yeah, to get the machine in there.
And there are some great pictures of the area behind. I don't know if you looked at the pictures,
I took a picture of it.
of the pictures behind it.
Oh, behind it now.
No, that's a whole packet from, is actually when it was used as an outdoor theater, which the rocks are still on the north side.
Can we do that? I really want that too. I still believe we should be doing a lot
So
of.
this is look at the picture when it comes around. It's not a real theater. It's a very simple,
No, that's why I think.
Sit
Yeah.
and have
So I will say on the Roosevelt, and in this area, I love our trees, and this is your not gonna believe it. I actually think we should cut the trees back. It actually feels so dark and unwelcoming around it. I'd rather brighten that whole area up in some way. I hate to say that.
Okay,
Okay, can we move on, Jamie, anything else
Jamie.
in the capital?
let's go,
Yes.
next capital, we gotta keep moving.
So we got the cage turf.
Yep, together, we applied together. I don't want to say animal stuff.
We don't know if we'll get it.
But do we have to? Sorry, do we have to put it in and we get half
Yeah,
back,
all the way
right?
till,
Yeah.
you
Right,
apply,
we have
you
to-
It's not
do all that
guaranteed.
stuff.
Yeah.
So we definitely need that return. So, yeah. Because it's on a safety leg. It's on its 10 years. And that turf wasn't as durable as the turf we have out here.
That's
They
included, we
kinda-
got it.
They kind of did it on the cheap a little bit.
They're working on writing it.
Okay.
Give them the information.
No, we actually stole it from Jamie already wrote it.
I did it.
Deal with pride.
Okay,
Thank
football
you.
helmets.
Thank you for that.
How do you say no to that, right? We need them.
We need them.
Yeah, they're in the
They
capital.
all expired at the same time. So we can talk about this 10 years from now.
Sorry, it might be timely just to speak to the grant that usually applies to.
For the helmet.
For the football helmet.
So it's possible we could get $5,000, but last year we got free football. So we're not always gonna get
Right.
money.
The money
But
is
I'm
in the
saying applying
budget.
for a grant.
We always apply for
Period.
it.
Yeah, just so they're.
We might, one year, they might say, oh, you got the $5,000.
Just to say, this is an every year thing that you guys
Yes,
do
we
internally.
always apply.
Okay. All right, next item.
So that's pretty much the capital for us.
Okay?
Can
Any
I
other, go ahead, any other questions for Jamie?
I just want to confirm, because I had to use the ladies' room, and I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. The community plaza, first part of, that phase two, that was that original, I'm just gonna call it big park, that plaza, but that's no longer, I know it keeps making it into our thing every year. That should be
Now we have
out.
a skate park, which the money's allocated for.
Yeah.
We were looking at the skate plaza, but I don't believe you actually voted whether we were going to do it or not.
I
There was no
believe.
comment.
Isn't this what we're going
Yeah,
to
no,
the grant
it
for?
got.
We're going for the ground
That's,
floor.
no, that's a
Got it.
multi-use.
That was what I
So-
included in there.
So just to clarify, guys, on that plaza, the community plaza, that plaza
Okay,
area.
wait, one at a time, I can't hear what's going on.
So the community plaza, we already got $100,000. That's actually in our budget, is the example.
Okay. Hold
Oh,
on.
yeah.
It is there, yeah.
This was a $300,000, was going to be a skate plaza, bought next to Roosevelt Commons. That was the thing. okay? It was gonna be $100,000 allocated a year, just that 300,000. That is now gone, that's a dead project, because that Skate Plaza is now going to be, well, we have two things. This multi-use thing, which you guys are talking about this evening, but skate topic is going to be at the swim club, and that was voted on, okay?
So that was the.
So this isn't in the budget, Julie.
That's the three, no, there, no,
we have a
look,
line
it's
item for it.
$100,000.
It's not
It's
recommended.
not recommended, it's not in the capital budget.
No, I have to ask a question.
But we have $100,000 we already got.
There was $100,000
Yes, we understand
last year.
Yeah.
That the governing body agreed that would come from open space. We never took action on that.
Right.
Correct.
Okay, so it was just said that we do that. But when I was talking to you and Mike and about all this, is there a differential between that and the $398,000, which is for the skate park?
So we didn't want to call it a skate park because it was going to be a community plaza, but it was a skate park.
Yes,
You
okay.
could-
There isn't
you
a
could
differential
skate-
in our
So
mind.
wait,
Oh, okay.
you could skate on it.
Yes, that's $100,000 should be, that open space is,
That should go back.
so
Is
$398,000
it?
is it.
What are you gonna do with that section over? I think I'm a little confused
Yeah,
about
So,
this.
so wait a minute,
Okay.
wait a minute.
Something
We're having
to
a
talk about.
we're having a disagreement about things that are not in the budget right now.
No,
No,
there's a line item in the
there is
budget.
a line item.
You didn't recommend it.
Right,
No,
it's
it is.
zero.
No, right, I didn't recommend it because I don't know if it's another item.
Okay,
So,
I'm
okay,
just
so
gonna
wait a minute,
go
I
on
just
an
wanna-
elemental level.
I want to focus on one particular
Right.
fact.
Let's just.
It's not in the it's not in the capital budget.
But,
It's not
right.
added.
But it's related, so,
okay,
let
let
Julie
me just explain it with elemental level, and it's really not confusing, Dan, because you know this, because you were part of the
I
plan.
know.
Okay, so you're like, I'm
But I
confused
don't
too. Okay, you got, today, everyone's talking about a multi-use thing.
That property.
Great, that's that property's discussion as of today. All the years before, it was this thing, which was the skate plaza community, community plaza skate plaza.
Right.
That is not going to be there anymore. That is now already voted to be in the, pool area. So, when she is talking about the $100,000 that was supposed to go to the, Roosevelt Commons, that has to go, back in. It shouldn't keep showing up as requested, because that's part of the open space that was going to be the total of $398, of which we're going to get some money back from the county.
I see these as two separate
Yeah,
things.
Two separate things.
Can I go?
I am
Yeah,
bound.
wait, right, so
It's here.
Julie's question,
Right.
Julie's question.
Explain.
So the community plaza was
Wait,
supposed to
hold
be
on
an
a second.
open space, organic space near Roosevelt Commons.
No, it was supposed to go with current skate park.
But remember, we were gonna open it
All right,
up.
Lauren, go ahead.
Then we were gonna put it next to it into an
Exactly.
open organic space.
So the money was not
Right.
only for the actual skate park, but it was actually to create a more plaza feel. It was for landscaping, cleanup of the ground, fixing, taking down the old
We're doing.
stuff. We still need that money, even if we get the grant, the beautification, the landscaping, the cleanup,
Yeah.
creating a plaza where people can come and sit, where the school kids from middle school and high school can walk, eat lunch, do their homework, all that stuff. That money was still designated. Whether we paid a skate park in that area or not, I still think that that's the more appropriate place it should go, and not
Correct.
dogs, bees, and skaters together. I think the skate park area should still be there, but either way, I would recommend keeping the money in the budget and utilizing
Okay,
it
so
for the
let-
Roosevelt Commons project.
One time, it's not in the capital budget.
We have $100,000.
That's a separate issue, but it's
Yeah.
to Julie's question, the $100,000 is not in the capital budget.
It wasn't recommended to add another, correct?
Correct,
Right.
So-
correct.
Correct.
Because that project, as it was originally conceived,
It's done.
is not moving forward, and
At
there's a
the-
different project going on, right?
All right. Okay.
Now, that doesn't mean a council person, because Julie, you kind of insinuated that it can't come up again. It could always come up again if any of the six of you decide to bring it up again, but it's not in the budget.
No.
And not at the budget
So
hearing.
I have a question.
Correct.
Mayor.
It's not a
Not a
conversation
budget,
now,
right.
right?
So last year, everybody agreed on $100,000 to come out from open space. So That has, no action's been taken. So this is out, and that one
Well,
It's not,
that's
it's not,
that's
we're not
where she
gonna do it
went,
then.
so their
Unless you guys
library
decide-
has a
That's
whole
a separate
section
open
of
space.
documents on it.
All right, Jamie, what's next?
This was a document request.
Is that it?
Jamie,
Any of the members of your, committee have questions?
anyone from the?
Oh.
Yeah, go for
Angela,
it.
like a rec center.
Okay.
Angela wants to, I understand, yes.
I completely agree that our town needs that.
Angela, my rec committee are all about active spaces for everybody, and I feel like that multi-use space is a win, and we're so thankful that you all agreed to do that, and we just need more active spaces.
So I would recommend that we put it on the agenda for a discussion item, okay? And we can put that on open, Omar, put that comment down. We want to have a conversation about a recreation center, whatever those words mean, to be considered at the next available council meeting, either it's in April or May. Right, because it's not, we need to get input about what's going on.
I think it would be nice to have public comments, didn't get to say it, could they?
Yeah, I just said, you guys can say anything you want, you're on, stand up.
Oh, sorry.
That's my comment.
Okay,
I think it's a detriment to our town that we don't have a record.
that we don't have one, okay. Thank you.
Right.
Putting on the record.
That's perfect. Perfect.
Actually, Jamie recommended a
All right, any other questions? Any other recreation, committee members want to speak? Or-
No, thank you. I
Good?
with Angela, I'm happy to see.
I agree with Angela also.
Can I say one more thing before Rex?
Go ahead.
Thank you that Angela Hitchcock is here, because, like I said, we are interested in creating an inclusive recreation playground. This is something that I will and have asked for in open space at the last meeting, when we didn't pick that for our grant project. I'm just going to reiterate that now during our budget, that I would still like to ask for this in open space to get done this year, to design something that's sensory and inclusive for our children. And we're looking at Walnut, which has an empty space.
That's on the next agenda for discussion.
It's on the next agenda of the next.
Yes.
And Andy will be there.
I won't be there.
Are you available tomorrow if I call you? You're around in the morning?
You never got back
I'll
to
take
me.
them off.
Are you available?
No, yes, keep it, I'll check.
Because it was left in my mailbox when you brought over.
Oh, it was brought
So we're
over?
good, so I'll call you
Okay,
tomorrow to
so
talk about it.
I can stop that.
You can stop that.
Okay.
So I'll call you in the morning to talk.
I look forward to seeing you.
Thank you, team.
Great, okay.
Thank you. All right, thank you for being here, Jamie.
Can we take a 2-minute break?
We'll take a 2-minute break.
Have a good evening.
Yeah, I choose.
Oh, thank you.
Well, you go
Yes.
next, and then you supposed to go?
Does he know?
So I send him the meeting link and invite, I can,
So if you,
Maybe he doesn't want
here's
to.
the skate park, tennis courts, there's a path that goes around towards the brook.
let me double check.
Right? I don't know if you're familiar with the path.
Yeah.
It starts at the mountain.
I don't know why
So
it's
along here, this part of the path where these trees are, there's a little rock. That's where those pictures were taken. People would sit out here.
I'd love to find a way
to make that happen.
happen. And it could be 100%
You know what the problem is with it? The Ford uses that as their practice, just doesn't want to touch it.
There's no other space that you could work around? Could you move?
We have filled so much.
Can you move the skate park away and give more room by the monument for music? Could you imagine doing music like almost on the monument? Like, could you imagine two singers?
Right, yes. The problem is the money. It's so fragile.
It's two people sitting,
Yeah,
playing.
and they do during 4th of July, they have the entertainment.
I would do that.
Have you ever seen that?
I don't think it's the 4th of July. I mean, I remember the fireworks.
No, but when they have the kids events all day.
Oh, yeah, they do, yeah.
They have a
No,
guy
absolutely, I
up
took
there.
boys here, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
No, I think it's
Thank you, I appreciate it.
I'm trying.
I
I know, and you say you're very sorry.
What?
I'm very sorry.
Oh, you're good, we're out of here in 57
No, I
minutes.
love it. I'm happy.
All right, what's next on the agenda? We took our 2-minute.
Finance.
But we keep,
Yeah.
but we
I
keep
need-
adding and we don't take away.
All right.
You didn't heard the three things.
We should.
All right, Dan, don't go anywhere, we're getting started.
I want to put this to Susan.
Is the building department here?
We always
No,
do
I
it.
know.
Is Bob here?
Nothing happened in this meeting. This meeting is like, should be done. It's
Right.
3 months
Is
ago.
Bob here?
Is when you
Well,
make the teams.
I told him he wanted to talk about one
I
position.
voted for
Okay.
yes, but I have to
Yeah,
tell you.
Omar is
I
probably
should've
finding
seen
out.
that
All right, Lauren, Jimmy?
long before we
This?
get to the budget,
No, but this is what we discussed,
just a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, no, I'm saying that.
Okay, how many council members we have? 3, 4, 5. Finance, Susan,
Okay.
while we're still awake.
Good evening.
I don't know.
Okay, so
That we lost.
basically, my department.
All right, guys, Susan has the floor.
Thank you. So.
I agree.
All right, so the finance department, we've been experiencing periods of being short-staffed. So this has been an ongoing situation. We hire people, we train them, and then they leave. I think it's the market right now. These positions aren't, paid competitively, I believe.
You've been interviewing some people for.
Tomorrow, we have two interviews, and Friday, we have another one.
Are you getting close to
The
making?
appointed deputy, position, I think I have 3.
You appointed a deputy position?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Tomorrow, we're interviewing for the deputy position.
Okay, good.
And Friday morning, Jimmy and
Are
I
you
will be.
cautiously optimistic in the candidates?
I'm pretty optimistic.
Okay, that's better than cautiously optimistic.
Well, hopefully, at least they're still interested, so.
Okay.
Let's see. We've been working on the American Rescue Plan, and I consider that one gigantic project with, like, a big umbrella with multiple projects underneath it. And, it's a lot of stringent reporting that's mandated by the United States Department of the Treasury, compliance reporting, and the Office of the State Comptroller. So we have another reporting due, I believe at the end of next month. We've been gathering data and tracking it as it relates to FEMA and anticipated reimbursements. And I have to say, Captain D. McCott has been doing a fabulous job of tracking the FEMA with us, and he's really on top of that, expediting the process.
Is he our OEM?
Yeah, he's been
Captain
doing,
D. McCott.
he's been doing a phenomenal job.
I like to reiterate, dealing with FEMA is annoying.
Well, he's extremely organized
Yeah.
and diligent in the process, so he's been doing a great job.
If I could just give a quick plug to him.
Go ahead.
Just because my counterpart in Englewood actually came, over this weekend to look at Bliss Ave as it reopens, as they have not even been contacted by FEMA and are just in their design phase of their project.
How about Cresco Pool?
geez.
It's so amazing what we've
Very high
accomplished.
Cresco Pool.
Yeah,
Seriously.
Very high praises too.
yeah, we're starting to get
Yeah,
money back.
wait, on
Wait,
that.
money, what did you say about money?
We already
sorry,
got
this
some,
is
overtime, money back, money that was spent on overtime,
Right,
for salaries and wages. We already received $109,000 from FEMA.
from FEMA, so we're starting to get money already?
Yes.
Good.
Great.
I'm sorry, Jeff, go ahead.
No, all I was gonna say is, I don't know what we can do to light a fire under Englewood, but this actually affects our residents.
Yep.
They're
Big
not
time.
fixing the,
I'm right there. Killing me.
we had the problem on Elm, I heard it from a lot of my neighbors
Yep.
on Elm,
I-
and now we've shifted to Bliss, it shouldn't be there. This has become our problem that they don't fix
Yeah,
it.
it is a problem.
It's right on our border.
It affects Englewood.
Whatever I can do to even help,
Yeah.
because,
I have conversations with my colleague over in, my counterpart over in Englewood.
Totally right, Jeff.
Feel free to reach out and speak to the council members over in Englewood.
fair enough.
I will, and sorry, I don't want to go
No.
too far off the track, so I will share our FEMA contacts with them. He expressed to me this morning, their difficulties with communicating with FEMA for whatever reason. And it had kind of alluded to what you had just mentioned, and to put kind of where, again, they're in their design phase only, so they're kind of where we were September 2nd.
But,
The day after the
because
storm.
Jeff is absolutely correct, it impacts Tenafly.
Yeah, maybe share our designs with them. He called, there's no harm in that.
I'll
Yeah.
see how I can support, if it's at minimum, giving them the FEMA contacts. I mean, it's not gonna be the same people, but
That's okay.
they're just,
Anything we do to help.
yeah.
So with escrow, it's kind of a nightmare working with escrow. I think there should be a better product out in the market. And you know, I'm still looking at it, but we have to, it's a little complicated. We have to get sub-accounts, there's disbursement accounts. It's not an easy process. So being that the deputy treasurer's been out, I've been really becoming hands-on on the process. And it's, I think there's probably a better way. But I saw a program at the league a while back that I liked. So it's something I have to still investigate when we get
Software?
staff. Yeah, it's software. But it's, you know, another banking institution. Originally, Bank of America did not want to hold our escrow, so I had to move to TD. And then TD's okay. So, but I think that there's another bank that is in Englewood that has a really good system, so we're gonna look at that. The miscellaneous revenue, we are going to be working with each department to streamline the process, because there's better ways to do it, and Omar is the first department that we've been working with, and the process is currently underway to be streamlined. We're consolidating and using less paper to do this. Underway, I started the presentation, we're adding to it, we're gonna roll this out to train employees for new procedures, as it relates to the Edmunds requisition module. What we're gonna try to do, and we've already looked at it, we're gonna be putting the quotes into the Edmunds system. So this way, when the auditors come in, they can access it directly, and we have the capability to even put the bid thresholds in. So it'll flag certain items as we're putting that in. And then it'll be all in one spot, and we'll have it ready to go. I met with the vice president of the Valley Bank, and we're gonna move towards positive pay. I'm gonna be meeting with her next month. Positive pay is a prevention tool that will help, do you have that at the county? That will help with fraud losses. There's such an increase in, as we know, in fraudulent activity.
We have live checks? For all direct deposits?
This is for when we have direct deposit coming in. This is for bills being paid out.
Do we use multiple banks, just in case? Or is everything in Valley?
No, we have Valley for most of our accounts, and then we use TD for escrow.
Does that make sense with all the stuff with Silicon Valley, Signature and everything? Because I assume the money we have in there is not federally insured after
Well,
$250,000.
there is an insurance for the GUPTA.
Yeah.
And also, the other thing is that, because we have.
You got it covered.
What is GUPTA? What does that mean?
The government depository.
It's the equivalent of the FDIC
Yeah.
for
That's
government entities.
So all of our money is
Are we
protected.
100% insured?
I don't know how much.
I forgot what the
Limit
When
up
Powell Park
to
got
it.
hacked when Powell Park got hacked, and Mariners Bank got hacked and they lost email, got hacked.
So let's
Oh,
get a
okay.
confirmation from
All right.
someone in writing about how the insurance program works.
Okay.
And if there's a limit and that we're covered.
Do you want to?
Because to Adam's point, if we're not covered, and
It's better, oh, sorry.
if we're not covered, then we need to talk about multiple banks.
Okay,
For
so
interest?
we get like really good interest from Valley. Like they raise us as the market changes.
No, I understand. I just want to make sure we don't get.
If you have a lot of money in one place, where you're like a better customer. So, but we can look at all these things. I'm always open to looking at a lot of stuff. I like looking at things.
Go ahead.
So the ACH continues to go up, and the WIP is increasing. WIP is our online payments through the tax office. So those transactions continue to increase. As always, you know, I'm here to serve you guys and the residents, and we try to do really, provide outstanding customer service to the residents. We constantly get questions and phone calls, and, you know, we really try to look at all the costs that are coming through our department. And we also, probably go a little bit further than most boroughs on checking things for compliance. And there's a lot of stuff that would be considered immaterial, but we take that extra step and make sure that we look for savings where we can and flag items that are questionable. Not that they're doing anything wrong, just things that we have to confirm.
Susan Benu has a question for you.
Yeah.
On payments, does the building department, can they accept online payments and credit card payments?
So I mean, you have to talk to Bob, because I don't really know.
I mean, is there any way to get them, on this?
So,
Yeah, just do it.
How long
Alright.
is taking online payments?
well, I have to tell all of you what I did once.
Okay.
I took credit card payments, and that I had to stop.
Oh,
And
Because it's expensive.
No, well, because
The fee.
people were disputing the charges
Oh.
after they paid by credit card. It was, I stopped it because, yeah, it was not good. So,
That's so annoying.
They were disputing the credit card fee.
which
No,
they
no,
paid
no.
their taxes.
No,
The actual thing.
They're trying to not
The whole
pay.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very smart. I wish I came up with that idea.
Well, because they were paying the convenience fee based on the amount that they were charging.
Right.
And they didn't realize that it was that. So then they would come in, I'd get this thing that they disputed their charge. Then you gotta have a whole nother issue with, delinquent
Too
tax.
complicated, not worth it.
It
Yes.
wasn't worth it.
Dan, go ahead.
So, that was where my question was gonna go. Why is it a percent and not a flat fee?
That's how it's done. I don't have control over
That's the
that.
credit card fees.
Yeah.
Yeah, but parking tickets, you just pay a
Yeah.
flat fee.
Then,
Certain departments.
Whatever the-
Yeah, I don't, that's a good question. That's a question we'd have to have that conversation with the credit card issuers.
Right.
Yeah, but it
Yeah.
costs us to work with the credit card company, percentage, that's
Right.
why.
That's why we charge them.
That's why you charge.
Yeah, it just was,
Right.
But
it
we
wasn't
should be able
good.
to do.
For the amount of,
Yeah.
but if it was a $5 convenience fee, that person would not dispute it. You know what I mean? Like,
well,
you gotta find it,
it
you
wasn't,
gotta find
but, that wasn't good for my department.
Right.
Yeah.
For
Who
somebody-
else has questions for
Oh,
Susan?
well, I have the next.
You wanna keep going?
Yeah.
Just,
There's a whole other page.
one thing on this page is, I just wanted to point out, the most important thing that she didn't say. The finance department provides a high level of assistance to other departments, within the borough, which includes training, credit, all of that. So, she does a lot for the other departments as well.
Well, under the administrative code issued by the state of New Jersey, the CFO is supposed to
Which is what?
lead in training department heads and lead in assisting the governing body in revenues, appropriations, the tax levy, and all of that. So that's under the administrative code. Okay, now,
But take the compliment, young
oh,
lady.
thank you.
It's the one thing you overlooked.
Well,
Time
thanks.
anyway.
Susan, given the time, can I'm gonna.
Well, I really need to go through some other
Okay.
things.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so, okay, so when you look at my budget, it might seem like it went up a lot, but we only budgeted half a year for some of the salary and wages. So, like, the purchasing assistant went from part-time to full-time, so you see $30-something extra $1,000 in this year's budget to accommodate that salary. The deputy treasurer that just left was going to be at $68,340. So we prorated that, for 9 months. Then, I want to speak with the governing body about the finance assistant. I believe I underestimated the amount of money that she should have gotten for the position to assist the TVAC. She's taken on, I made a list
That's
here.
the $5,000 raise that you.
I gave her 5, I also prorated that, you guys gave her 5. I also prorated that last year, but this, see,
Wait, you gave it another 5 this year.
no, I'm asking to look at her salary, and, because there's a number of things that this person does do, and I don't feel that her wage is competitive. And we were paying a part-time person $21,000, and then the TVAC, which we didn't put there for different reasons, wanted $12,000. I didn't know what the work involved.
What's the number you're asking for?
Another
You're at
5.
54, you're at 54.7,
So
right?
by contract, she should get 49. If you go to the next page, Mayor.
Yeah, I put both of them down so
By
that.
contract, her raise is up to 49, and then Susan's asking for a 5 on top of that.
Right, so I just want to add to this, though. I want to let you know what this person does. I had never, ever, I asked her to do things, they just do it. In addition to this, but, she helped to prepare resolutions for the transfers this year. She also ensures just in addition to this, any changes to POs after the BA, and I,
Are those within her job description?
they weren't. These are all things that she's been tasked with. We had a situation where when we met with the auditors, not a recommendation, just a suggestion, and we're doing it. Sometimes Jimmy will approve a PO, then I approve it, and then something happens where it comes in higher. She flags these items for me and lets me see them and initial them. So she works very diligently, conscientiously to do these things. Presently, she's been really working hard with the TVAC captain on the new ordinance with looking at the categories. And also, we decentralized Amazon now. So that is a big undertaking because we had to do that for internal control purposes because everybody was using Amazon.
Shopping cart.
Yeah, we put it in a basket now.
Isn't that why we gave Kathy more money for the purchasing
This,
assistant?
she's doing compliance on the quotes and the competitive bidding and research. This is not that type of work. It's totally different. And we're also looking at Staples as being another, vendor that we need to centralize and we need to put this in a basket because the situation could be that we go over the threshold and that could be an audit finding. So she's monitoring the thresholds, where the purchasing assistant is looking at whatever quotes come through, and we have an example right now of some things that are happening with capital, with the construction software, the duration of time, if it's proprietary, like those are really other types of things to look at, not that this person would be looking at.
So I'm going to stop you for a second. This is why we need job descriptions.
I have job
Because-
descriptions.
Yes, I understand, but there's not job descriptions currently. There's a request for $5,000 more for doing things in or outside the job description or job duties. It's very unclear to me which way that falls. And I'm not big on giving salaries just to give a salary, don't get me wrong.
No, I don't think
agree,
wrong.
I'm this employee's fantastic, but across the board, if it's within the obligations of the position, we don't give merit raises.
Well, first of all, I couldn't assess the work that she was doing because it was just put to her. Secondly, there's other work, and I looked at the job description today before here, just to go over it again. And then I made a list, and plus, there was a corrective action plan with that where we had to ensure that certain things are done, and
But wasn't she paid out of the TVAC?
there is no more TVAC budget. We
But if
eliminated
they
it.
wasn't that work done under the TVAC budget to fix it, to go through
Well, it
everything?
was at 21,000, and then the captain wanted 12. So it's a lot of work, and then working with this ordinance, and then all these other things that she's gonna have to start doing. It's not something that was in her job description.
Hey, but in our current ordinance, Jeff, you would know this best at this point. In our TVAC ordinance, aren't they supposed to hire their own accountant? How does it wind
They're
up?
separate legal,
I'd have to
they're separate
Correct,
entities.
but
I'd have to
our finance
recheck.
department's not gonna continue to do their finance, are we?
We have to
You
do all
mean
their
the
accounts
proposed
payable.
ordinance or the existing? Because it may be different in the proposed.
Well, the argument on the table is that this position will continue to do the TVAC finance, so I'm asking, is that going to be the case?
It is the case.
But in years to come?
Yes. They can't do it as an employee. That's already been decided.
Okay.
So,
I thought it was supposed to
recheck.
be independently
I will
accounted.
recheck the proposed.
well, we went through this, didn't we?
I'll recheck.
Yeah.
This was an issue that Wendy was looking up last. I
Mhm.
stepped off of it,
Right, and
and now you're on it.
I
I
if
just
we
don't
could
remember
get
that
to the,
detail.
it sounds like the justification for the extra 5,000 to me, if I was to summarize, sounds like the work she's doing is actually
a higher level
Sa-
of competency
and saving money in a way by being the checks and
oh,
balances.
yeah, she's excellent.
So that's the idea of the
Thousands,
efficiencies.
if you want to know.
So she's saving money with the efficiencies, so I would say if we could give Susan a yes, no on the 5,000, because there's a lot of things to do, then we can, move to the next part.
But I'd like to add something else here. I have reorganized my department a couple of times. I look at the weaknesses and the strengths within the department, what we streamlined, what we're adding, and I constantly review this. I I want to do that again right now. I'm down 2 people. I'm gonna have to talk to you, Jimmy, about this, but I see some places to move things, because now, especially because I've been, like, in the jobs doing them, I think that there's work that I can move around, and so that there's one person working a lot of overtime right now, and I have to situate certain duties. So I would like to reorganize. I've done this 2 times before, where I do my checks and balances and see where there's room for work to be moved and places where there's too much work. Because this is a area where jobs change a little bit, just like with the ARP funds, with new software, with all this positive pay, the hacking.
You need to ask us about reorganizing, wouldn't that just be?
No, I'm saying I can manipulate this budget to work without increasing it by how I manage the funds.
Okay, so we got 35 minutes left.
Okay,
Yeah,
no, but I'm explaining this.
So this,
I have a question.
all right, so hold on.
Oh, no, all right.
Julie's asked a question here about,
Okay.
The 5,000 was the.
and it won't be retroactive, so therefore, it actually does not
Not
gonna happen
retroactive.
until June 1st or so.
Until after
Oh.
the budget. is-
So we're only spending half of the money this year.
All right.
Yeah.
Lauren?
So over the past couple of years, your budget's gone up about $130,000 in salary, even with the streamlining. And so your budget is actually one of the highest budgets in the borough, I'm just saying, not because, not because it's based on competency, not because of the stellar work product, which I agree is there, but again, like municipalities cannot necessarily just increase salary because of competence. And so we are hiring, you have 2 vacancies here. We are hiring 2 vacancies in which you can reimagine what that job description is for a new hire to take off some of the work that this finance assistant needs to cover. So you're hiring a deputy treasurer who might be able to take off some of the additional work that's on your list here for the finance assistant, and then we can get an appropriate salary for that new hire. But to just give the $5,000 to this person, I'm a no, because that is how I am across the board. I would give more considered a stipend for that work, a one-time stipend, and so it wouldn't increase the salary again. We don't want your as a department, your salary rates to continue on this high. And we still know that we're not getting anybody in for $35,000 in initial salary here, one of the vacancies. We know we're gonna have to be higher
Well,
than
they
that.
might be prorated. But I'd like to add to that. First of all, I work about 20 extra hours a week for the last few years. I'm getting tired. Number 2, the assistant tax collector has been working incredible amounts of overtime. If you look at this plan here, your capital budget has increased double. This is and the American Rescue Plan. This is an incredible amount of work, and we need these bodies. In fact, I need someone I'm just letting you know, and I work fast. I'm what you call a smart worker, okay? Specific, measurable, attainable, timely, realistic. I am always busy, I'm fast, and there's more stringent compliance issues that have been put on us with all the hacking and everything else that's coming before us. We honestly are working our tails off and cannot keep up. And I can't even file any of my stuff, and I have nobody to file it.
We need to
So
fill the vacancies.
we need help.
So,
need to fill the vacancy.
Vanu, I have a comment.
I agree, Janelle.
So, just wondering, is her experience now that she's been doing all of this additional stuff, could you say that she's eligible for some kind of a promotion? Is there a promotion that she could move to?
Well,
Wait, time out a
I
second.
don't do that.
I'm gonna interrupt Vanu
Go ahead.
for a second, in the sense that we probably shouldn't talk about people eligible for promotion because we're getting into an area of their job performance.
Right, no, I'm just saying, okay, so,
We don't do that
I
under
see
our
what
I
you're
contract.
just think
Bennon's
I
saying.
underestimated
It's about
the competency
the
level of the work.
position.
you're right.
And the
It's-
work that, I'm gonna be, this other work that's coming in here,
But that's,
this is,
The position is
yeah.
more.
This-
is what we're
it
saying.
is
Position.
so
more.
it shouldn't fall to, if there's new work coming in, it shouldn't fall to the existing finance assistant who has parameters. We are creating 2 new vacancies and assign it to the new vacancies as an assigned job duty and give an
I
according
don't-
salary.
I don't have,
But
I already have work that I
Yeah,
need
yeah,
to
so,
give them.
right.
She has,
So the question
I want
is,
to some my work.
the CFO
Treasury.
the CFO is making a recommendation, making a request,
I know,
and that's, right?
I'm
So
I'm gonna
that's
move
what,
on.
that's what we have to kind of focus on. You know, and we'd like having millions of dollars returned to us from FEMA very quickly than, a lot of other people. We need to have continuation of quality people in the organization.
We have two new ones to hire,
Right.
to help
Right.
offset the workload.
I can tell you that I haven't even, I'm only doing the bare minimum for the deputy right now, because I have no time to do more.
Okay.
And, you know,
So we gotta fill these positions.
we have to fill them, but there's,
No.
and Jimmy can tell you how busy my office is.
All right, so what happened to Councilman Park?
Restroom.
Okay.
But, you know, we
So
could
let's-
have everything filled in 2 months, and who knows? We could
I'm
be up and
hoping
running.
so soon.
Right, well, we're gonna call the question about the CFO's recommendation, and
Yes.
everybody will voice their opinion. Julie?
Yes.
Anu?
Yes.
Jeff?
I am a yes, but Susan, in all honesty, I have to say I'm getting a little concerned of I understand the workload. That's universal. I have that as a teacher, and I don't get anyone to do my copying. Everywhere in the public service is experiencing this increase, and we've given you a lot more. And part of what does concern me is when I look at this, you know, you're including prorated budget, so I'm thinking next year, these people are hired, it's not prorated. That's another jump in the increase in the salaries, right?
Well-
But yes, it's another jump, and your department will have gone up significantly, at least 50% in a couple of years, and I understand a lot more work, but the ARP is disappearing. Hopefully, we won't have major floods. We never know what's going to happen with that, and I can't budget based on that. I am saying yes on the recommendation, but this can't keep happening. It is an annual thing, and we're having this as an annual discussion now, and I love your department dearly, but that's it.
Well,
Okay.
We made raises last year, and we made raises the year before.
Well, that's what I just said, is this is an annual
Right,
thing,
we need to
and it
reimagine
has
job
to,
duty and
it has
salary.
to stop.
well, I'm hoping I get hired.
Okay, so let's finish going around the table.
Yeah, the new
So
hire.
hire
Adam.
them.
Yes, I agree with Jeff. Yes, but we have to,
Lauren?
but I know we're doing it.
I answered.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, so that's moving forward. Any other questions for
That's not a
Susan?
personal thing, Susan.
I
know that
don't
every
take it
raise-
personally, believe me, I don't.
We have
No.
30 minutes left, and we're all leaving.
I'm not supposed to take this personally. I've been
I
doing
said
this.
no to every raise.
Are we done with the finance department? So let's move on to capital.
Thank you, Susan.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So capital, Susan, do you have questions? You're gonna make a statement? How are we starting?
So Paul did really, I think it's a good
You did an
job.
excellent job.
The capital for everyone. So, with that being said, let me get the capital. All the departments basically went, I think that,
I think we went through everything.
yeah,
We went through
so,
everything.
What's the final number?
I'm sorry,
if there's anything that anybody
Do this
wants
in under
to
half an hour.
take out, you should let me know.
Shouldn't we just
Um,
go line
I
by
wanted to
line
add-
and approve?
Yes. We
sorry.
This is one of the
There was one thing
lowest,
you added.
like, right? We're gonna be like
No,
$2 million.
No, the temporary.
Okay, so who has a question for Susan?
What was the decision on the Froggy Park climber? That was a yes, was it right? In the sign?
Not the climber,
It's
it's the
4 million.
dinner.
No, I know.
It was already done. It was voted on at the last
For three-
Yes,
council
I
meeting.
know, but I didn't write it down, that's all.
Report.
That's
First
not-
meeting last budget.
I'd
There were
like to.
4.4
4 million,
Yeah.
So what is the
Take it
total
from
Remember
amount
last
now?
year?
Last year, I thought we,
I'm,
Wow,
I
five, right?
I have to speak that math.
and then before that, it was consistently 2.5,
So-
3.
We budgeted,
So we took
more
advantage of
ATV.
the
We put like, I think,
low interest
250.
rate. Now we gotta
Just
go
so everybody
reverse.
understands, we put 250 into our capital improvement fund, and that's because there may be other capital projects that I could foresee coming down the pike. And that will cover our down payments, and that's a statutory requirement. So we can cover everything that's presented in these, this capital plan, and then a little bit more should we need it.
Man, I don't know about you guys.
What's the total again?
We have this The only thing we didn't really answer
2, 3, I
is
can't even see
the
this.
municipal
4,
complex,
5,
for lack of a
9,
better
8.
word, however small or big we want it. If we don't have the answer for the library roof, right?
Right, we
But
don't
the
have
Did you
that.
say the library
Roof, I
roof
thought
or the
we-
new library?
2 million.
For the new library, we have the answer for it.
But what about
But
did we approve the library roof?
Yeah.
In the
Yeah,
temporary.
library roof is approved.
The temporary capital.
For,
was the
but
temporary?
what's the answer?
The temporary is 1,655,000.
Adam's correct in the
1
sense that
million.
we don't have an actual, dollar amount. We put in 500,000.
Right, we will not have a dollar amount when we go out to bid.
Right.
The bids could come back,
There is.
the bids are gonna come back either at $499,000 coincidentally, or they're gonna come back at $1.5 million.
But that five, what was the, I forgot, I thought I was a part of this.
Or they come back, but those guys would
what's that
agree, the
500 get
trustees
us?
would agree to pay for
Right,
it.
but that's a secondary issue to the price. We
That's
won't
the
know the
roof
price till the bids
replacement?
come
No, I
back.
remember that, I
Right.
just saw that, yeah.
So, okay,
That's what it gets?
so I just,
Okay, one at a time, we're all over the place now. Go ahead, Susan.
so the total capital plan, including what we just passed for the temporary, was, is $4 million, dollars.
Yeah.
So, when you look at this, you have to remember that we're gonna be somewhere over here. And this is
We're gonna be where?
see these red right over here, 4 million, over here.
Okay.
So the red lines are maturity schedules of what's existing. So those aren't gonna, so what Paul's saying is very important. The next few years, we should try to be
Paying down our debt, yep.
paying down debt and trying to do less
Of
in
course.
capital
Right.
plan.
Cut the credit card amount.
So, Mayor, if I may, just.
Please do.
just on the two topics now, the library, and I received, where we picked
Oh, yeah.
up, where we left off with the library and
Yeah.
the roof specifically. They were here doing their budget presentation, and they wanted to ask their questions to the borough engineer. I had asked them to arrange a phone call and to give me dates. They said, here are questions in writing, we want a response in writing. No problem, fine. Those, responses to their questions from the borough engineer was provided to them this morning, because I received them this morning.
Can I get a copy?
Sure. So I just wanted to let everyone know that came in.
The responses to their questions were
Provided.
received this morning by them.
And it was sent to the library today, over to Julie Morallo and her team.
Yeah, so Andy and his team sent me the responses, and then I forwarded it to Julie Morallo, and then also copied the mayor and Susan, just so everyone saw that this meeting.
They had about 5 or 6 questions. They
Okay.
wanted to know square footage, they wanted to see a schematic of what was actually being repaired or rebuilt, so they were provided with all that.
Thank you.
Now, are they gonna go ahead and give us the second engineer for?
Go ahead, Jimmy, answer that question.
Without knowing 100%, I would say probably.
Yes.
I know they haven't been, they've mentioned that they have their own,
Yeah.
whatever,
Thoughts on that.
engineer, architect. They want to do their own due diligence too, which.
That's fine.
Yeah, and, so
So
that
wait,
will,
that's very much.
this will be the basis, from what I understand from them, this will be the basis of how much they determine they feel to contribute to the project. So,
Got it.
to the point of how much is the project gonna cost and how much should we anticipate, I think we're doing the right thing, and we should anticipate, because of the timing, we have to anticipate 100% of it. And
Well,
then,
we didn't, we don't have, we can wait on that. I
oh,
think it's
okay,
separate
what's the
ordinance.
timing? Okay.
But
But
it's
we're
in
ready.
hand.
I just don't know
Built in
their
the down
timing.
payment.
The money is built
The
in,
down payment is
Okay.
built in.
And
a
then-
separate ordinance.
Mayor,
Yeah.
can
Yes.
I ask that you and Jimmy actually have a meeting with Julie Morano and her team? Because, again, before they spend money on engineering, which could be used for revitalization of inside the library and so forth.
Yeah, we just gave,
No public.
we are gonna meet with them, we had met with them, we had a conference originally, that's how we got the questions, they were gonna email, they emailed them to us and everything, so we will meet with them to flush out the questions, because we anticipate these 5 answers will generate several more questions.
Yeah.
My comment is that no public is paying attention to the library board's actions at this time. That's taxpayer money being utilized. There won't be any public pushback in any sort of way to seeing a second engineering bid when we have a qualified engineer providing one.
Right, I mean, they're not going for second bids on the project,
No,
right?
no,
They
as
have their
engineering.
architect reviewing it, right?
Right. Okay.
Yes, Adam?
2 questions, one on the 500,000 that we put in for the roof. What is the, 3 little pigs? What's that roof made out of, straw or? like, I probably incorrectly, because I know nothing about engineering, like,
So the-
I personally would say, like, almost put a tarp on it, because I really want to build
Understood.
somebody else, so I wouldn't want to build a gold-plated roof for $500,000 if I know I'm just going to tear it down literally a month
So
from now.
the design of the material being used are roof shingles and flat roof material, rolled rubber,
Yeah.
heated. In addition to that, there's allocations included for repairing of the material
And
underneath.
that's an efficient, meaning effective, yet
Yes, but
efficient approach,
the
'cause we're not there for 20 years.
The original design of this roof, when it was built 60 years ago,
Yeah.
was probably one of the worst designs in terms of material they could have used, because it's a real specialty situation.
Yeah.
It's not like the roof of our homes, where you have the shingles that just gets ripped off, you throw a piece of new plywood up and you're ready to go.
Yeah.
This has got all kinds of insulation, the shingles and the roof underneath, the underlayment are integral to the structure of the
But
building.
the experts think this is the right approach, what you're talking about.
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
And then the second question, totally my responsibility if I somehow missed it, but I think I asked this before. About 400 or 500 years ago, Andy had facilitated, I don't remember if it was Saturday or something, a session where the rec came in, the senior center came in, the library came in and gave all of their dreams of,
November 22nd.
perfect, November 22nd. Good. I swear I don't remember getting the
I didn't get
output
anything from that.
of that session.
So I followed up with him, and I'll, because he's coming to the April 18th meeting, so maybe he can speak to.
So it's not just me.
It's not just you, but the big question there is whether the council wants to go down that road. So we'll follow up, Jimmy will follow up with him to get that for you.
Yeah, we got to look at it. If he says it's $100 million, maybe we don't want to do it. If he says based on all this stuff, first of all, the senior center doesn't need this much or the rec doesn't need that much, this is what they propose, I think we should at least, if we all spent the time to sit in the meeting for 6 hours, we might as well
Yeah,
see
yes,
the output of it.
Jeff. So
Back
Jimmy.
to capital.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Sorry, just one last point to the capital budget. There are two items in here that are almost $1 million that are once in 50, 60-year projects, so hopefully, the fall and that roof.
Right.
So hopefully they're,
All right.
Jeff.
I'd love to take that out.
So one of the things, we always get requests for vehicles. And Jimmy, thank you. Jimmy sent me the list of borough vehicles by year, make, model, and department. One of the things that I'd like to think about is we have, for example, buildings, fire prevention, not fire department, fire prevention, rec, all have vehicles. They don't always use them all the time. That maybe like we had been talking about of having one shared part-timer across things, instead of giving buildings another vehicle, which they've asked for, and this one another vehicle, maybe we have a vehicle where the keys are kept central with the clerk's office, and they fill out a chart, I need it this day, and they schedule it. And this way we buy fewer vehicles because instead of everyone getting one, there's a shared vehicle that could take 2 or 3 vehicles down to one. We have something like 9 Ford Explorers. Of the 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8. Eight of them at least are 2018 or newer. We're not talking to old vehicles. I can't even tell you, we have Ford 250s, 350s, 450s, 550s.
No, now he's
Ford
just joking. There's
Escapes.
no 550s.
There are 2 of them in this borough. There are
I've never heard of a 550.
The question is, where are those Ford, are the Ford Explorers all in the police department? Are they
DPW.
DPW?
They're all DPW.
And then,
All of them?
No,
Yeah.
that'd be
Like I
Ford
say,
Explorer.
Oh, I'm sorry, the Explorers? I'm sorry.
Are all,
The Explorers are police, but then we know when they have Chargers and Tahoes and Crown Victorias, we know when they get passed down,
Right,
they
pass
should
them to other
be
departments.
passed to other departments.
That's what we
And
do.
we actually don't have a single Explorer that's been passed down, or Charger, or Tahoe that's been passed down, because I did this one, not by department. Oh, wait, here's my list. Maybe they have. I mean, which one was I saying? Yeah, the Explorers, actually, fire prevention got one. But that's the thing, is that they don't get passed enough, and this is a mess. And I appreciate this because this is a comprehensive way of looking at it, and I think we need to have a shared vehicle if it's possible.
Yeah. And I could send that to everyone that was made on, that was meant to be played with on Excel, because that's the filter, so you can filter out by the.
Why does it say Ferrari for the borough administrator?
Pop that in there.
It's a Porsche. It's purple.
He kept that one out. It's in as a you-go.
We should get it listed as taking out all the stuff we built. It's
Purple.
I do it.
Well, I can.
so that we see what it is.
There's, what, 91 vehicles, most of which are specialty vehicles for DPW, no question.
Yeah.
But there's probably about 40 to 50 vehicles that are not specialty. Fire department obviously is specialized,
Just, you know.
and none are electric.
Jeff, you have.
We're gonna get our
you have
first
to
electric one
supersede that.
this year.
Yay.
All right.
Excited for that.
Have to supersede it.
PSCNG, by the way, is a energy program right now,
Here.
in which they are replacing air conditioners.
One listed
Um,
by
they're
vehicle
offering
type in my
chargers.
department.
They're looking at, what is it called? The airflow in and out of buildings, like they are coming into energy audit, that's the word. We should be doing all of this. It's a public program. You essentially get a loan for it, you pay it back slowly over time, but you get the equipment immediately in the first year. Are we eligible?
Yeah.
We're looking at that for the HVAC, yeah.
Because
That
this is for,
situation hasn't gone away.
air conditioners, heaters, boilers.
Yep.
No, we did.
Well, look at that, Jimmy.
Okay.
You know, we should, let's get an update on where we are with all that PSC&G, business.
By the way, I gave T-VAC
Right.
information on an electric.
Okay,
engine.
Julie, then, Susan,
no.
please.
I'm telling you.
Susan,
So we joined the cooperative.
That's awesome.
And we're
Good.
I totally
presently
agree.
looking into that.
good, perfect.
I thought we did that.
Not a good example.
All right, any other questions on tonight's discussions?
Yeah.
Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, everybody. Aye.
Yeah.
So